After all, the power of that purple magic palm just now was real, and none of the forces present could withstand it. Just like that, the Yuan Immortal clan finally entered the Star Sea Array without any danger. However, already far behind, their mood became quite gloomy. Starting off on the wrong foot cast a shadow over everyone's hearts. But no matter what, they still fought hard to catch up. For a moment, more than a dozen Star Sky flying boats were chasing after each other within the star array, advancing rapidly. And naturally at the forefront was Lu Qing, who had entered first. Were all those Star Sky flying boats waiting for the emergence of the return to Ruin's secret realm? Still being carried forward quickly by the void flying boat, Lu Qing contemplated. Earlier, as soon as he emerged from the void, he rushed into the star river formation without being able to clearly observe the outside situation. But even with just a fleeting glance, he sensed countless powerful auras among the dozens of huge Star Sky flying boats. Some of them even made him tremble with fear. Yet he still barged in, right under the eyes of everyone, an audacious provocation. Lu Qing could already imagine how furious those powerhouses were just now. He even sensed several powerful auras behind him, tightly pursuing him. The malice among them was evident. Void flying boat, you've really gotten me into trouble this time, Lu Qing thought bitterly. If it were just him, he wouldn't be too worried. After all, he had many life-saving cards, and over the years, the primordial spirit mark imprinted and entrusted in his hometown's world origin had made significant progress, capable of supporting his rebirth. Even if he fell in this return to Ruin's secret realm, he could resurrect in his homeland. However, this time Little Li was also with him. If he died, Little Li would also be doomed, something he absolutely could not bear. Lu Qing also sensed the secret realm stone plate left by the great figure of the Witch Clan in his Chenquan 1 Chi bag. Yet, he found that although the stone plate could sense, it could not transmit, as if something was blocking the connection between the stone plate and the Trial secret realm. Is it the ability of this star river formation? Even the transmission ability of the secret realm stone plate is blocked, suggesting that the strength of the immortal who created the return to Ruin's secret realm is likely not inferior to that of the great figure of the Witch Clan. Realizing that even the secret realm stone plate couldn't be used, Lu Qing understood that he truly had no retreat this time. Nevertheless, he couldn't abandon Little Li. It seems like I can only fight desperately. Determination flickered in Lu Qing's eyes as countless thoughts raced through his mind, strategizing. He began to recall the auras he sensed before entering the array. Among the auras I sensed earlier, the most powerful were from the few flying boats at the forefront. Those auras from the flying boats included those that felt as evil as demons, some pure and clear, and others exuding a strong sword intent. Wait, sword intent. That sword intent earlier was heaven-breaking sword intent. As Lu Qing analyzed the previous auras in his mind, a spark of insight suddenly appeared. Among the flying boats at the forefront, one emitted an incredibly powerful sword intent. And that sword intent was quite familiar to him, none other than the heaven-breaking sword intent. Although there were some differences from the one he had comprehended himself, he could confirm it was indeed heaven-breaking sword intent. Practitioners of heaven-breaking sword chi, could it be that the force from the time of Patian Taoist has been passed down? If so, Lu Qing speculated in his mind, and a plan quickly formed within him. The aura around him began to change again, and soon, a faint, almost imperceptible sword intent flickered around him. After completing the aura transformation, Lu Qing turned his attention to his surroundings. He saw numerous black whirlwinds constantly emerging and disappearing in the surrounding space. The aura they emitted made his heart and spirit tremble. He immediately understood that these black whirlwinds were extremely dangerous. Even for his strong physical body, if caught within them, he would likely perish. Fortunately, the void flying boat seemed to be acknowledged by this array, and wherever it went, the black whirlwinds parted, allowing him to advance unobstructed and swiftly. At the same time, Lu Qing saw in the distance a gigantic vortex with a floating shadow of the immortal palace. He activated his superpower to observe it. Yet perhaps because the rank of the Immortal Palace shadow was too high, he couldn't discern any information even after observing for a while. Instead, the void-flying boat plunged him into that gigantic vortex. Suddenly, he experienced a dizzying sensation. Once he stabilized his heart and spirit, he found himself on an enormous plaza paved with jade. In front of him stood a towering, grand immortal palace exuding endless power between heaven and earth. Having brought Lu Qing here, the void-flying boat seemed to have completed its mission. It turned back into a small silver boat, landing in Lu Qing's hand. Lu Qing put it away and began to survey his surroundings. Is this the return to Ruin's secret realm? And underfoot are top-grade spirit jades. Looking at the jade paving the plaza beneath him, Lu Qing found that they were all top-grade spirit jades. The plaza he stood on wasn't small, at least not smaller than a state domain in his home world at a glance. An entire state's worth of top-grade spirit jades. Just thinking about this amount made Lu Qing draw a sharp breath. Truly, this secret realm created by an immortal of transformation was a wealth almost beyond imagination based on just the top-grade spirit jades of this plaza. Yet Lu Qing also felt that the plaza was shrouded by an array, containing exceptionally terrifying power within. Forcibly extracting these top-grade spirit jades would trigger the array power, instantly reducing a primordial spirit great power to fragments. He also noticed that the space within this secret realm was exceptionally stable, even more so than in the Witch Clan's trial secret realm, extraordinarily heavy. Even with his power, it was somewhat troublesome. Discovering this brought Lu Qing joy instead of fear. With such stable space, attempting space shifting as a primordial spirit realm level would be incredibly difficult, which was exceedingly favorable for him. His current realm was merely primordial spirit realm's first tribulation. He hadn't comprehended the space law. If no one else could manipulate space, it was undoubtedly beneficial for him. Is flying also forbidden in this secret realm? Lu Qing looked up at the magnificent immortal palace ahead. Feeling the terrifying power emanating from it, and the faint threat from the sky, he immediately understood that flying wasn't allowed in this secret realm. If one violated this rule, terrifying consequences would likely follow. But Lu Qing wasn't surprised by this. In the Witch Clan's trial secret realm, he had already experienced it. It seemed that these supreme existences disliked living creatures flying around in the spaces they created when constructing their secret realms. This might be a manifestation of the space owner's will. After observing the immortal palace for a bit with no result, Lu Qing turned his attention to the structures surrounding it. The area around the immortal palace also featured numerous buildings, each exuding strong power, though much smaller compared to the towering immortal palace. After contemplating for a moment, Lu Qing performed his movement technique, heading towards the nearest building. The space within the secret realm was incredibly heavy, and since flying was forbidden, Lu Qing could only travel by running. Yet, given his robust physical body, even running didn't slow him down. Just as Lu Qing rapidly approached that building, a ripple of spatial fluctuation appeared behind him. Lu Qing turned back to look. The group of figures clad in black and white Taoist robes were the primordial spirit realm members of the Black and White Temple. Upon witnessing the vast immortal palace and sensing its incredibly powerful might, the primordial spirit realm members of the Black and White Temple were immediately overwhelmed. However, Tu Shan was quick to react, disregarding the immortal palace and swiftly scanning the surroundings. He hadn't forgotten that he had been chasing that silver flying boat all the way here. Where was the silver flying boat now? This secret realm of Guishu is incredibly stagnant, with the immense power of the immortal palace ahead suppressing everything. Even the primordial spirit sense of a primordial spirit great power was greatly restricted. Fortunately, the spirit jade square was vast and empty, and Tu Shan quickly spotted Lu Qing's figure with just a glance. However, upon seeing the empty square with only one person, Tu Shan instinctively paused. Then his eyes widened slightly. It turned out that the person who had just toyed with all of them was merely one person. Tu Shan found it hard to believe. To dare to enter the secret realm of Guishu to seize fortune. Wasn't every power sending their elites, accompanied by many strong individuals? Yet, in that silver flying boat moments ago, there's only one person? And merely an ant of a 5 tribulation primordial spirit. Or is this boy before him just bait, while others are waiting in ambush? Numerous thoughts flashed through Tushan's mind. But his reaction was swift. With a wave of his hand, he summoned a black bone claw, rapidly reaching forward to capture the boy. No matter what's behind this, a mere 5 tribulation primordial spirit, he wouldn't take it seriously. Once captured, he'd be at his mercy. Trouble. Lu Qing felt the dangerous aura coming from behind and instantly felt a shiver down his spine. The black bone claw summoned by Tushan not only held terrifying power but vaguely had the ability to suppress space, beyond what he could contend with now. Fortunately, because the space of this secret realm was firmly stabilized, the suppressive force wasn't clear, thus restraining him not. Feeling threatened, Lu Qing acted without thinking. His legs burst with force. His speed abruptly increased, darting forward, causing the black bone claw summoned by Tushan to hit nothing. Tushan did not expect his surefire strike to fail. By logic, his strike should be unstoppable, even for a 6 tribulation primordial spirit. But he quickly realized the issue. No, it's because this secret realm space is too stable. Hence the 9 nether bone claw didn't suppress him. Tushan now noted how unexpectedly stagnant the space in the Guishu secret realm was. Even as someone at the peak of the 8 tribulation primordial spirit, he struggled to shake it. The power of the 9 nether bone claw was greatly diminished here. Therefore, the boy managed to evade suppression, escaping a disaster. Interesting, let's see where you can run. Watching the boy run further away, with the power-depleted 9 nether bone claw proving insufficient to reach. Tushan's gaze turned cold, preparing to personally pursue and capture the boy. However, at this moment, a sword chi slashed before him, stopping his advance. Turning to look revealed it was the people from other major sects who also entered. The one who used sword chi to block him was Yu Jian. Yu Jian, what do you mean by this? His form blocked, while Lu Qing's figure took advantage of this moment, getting further away, looking like he'd be out of reach soon. Tushan's gaze turned unfriendly. Nothing. Just couldn't stand to see you bullying the weak. Yu Jian responded indifferently. He had just entered and wasn't fully aware of the situation. He only saw Tushan trying to act against a 5 tribulation primordial spirit and instinctively intervened to stop it. He didn't know why Tushan was targeting that 5 tribulation primordial spirit, but he understood that if anyone from the Black and White Temple wanted something done, stopping them was the right choice. Moreover, for some unknown reason, he felt a faint familiar aura from that 5 tribulation primordial spirit ahead. Thus he directly unleashed a sword chi to block Tushan. Do you know that boy is the one who toyed with everyone earlier? The scoundrel who came in ahead? So what? Yu Jian's expression remained unchanged. The Guishu secret realm is ownerless. Anyone capable can enter. If he was able to be the first inside, that's his skill. But you wishing to bully the weak before me won't happen. Fine, very fine. Tushan's icy expression deepened upon hearing Yu Jian's obstinate words. But noting the disciples of Kongming sect standing beside Yu Jian and other continuously entering forces, he realized that if he clashed here with Yu Jian, it would surely incite the joint assault from the Skybreaking Sword sect and Kongming sect, plus other forces eyeing him like a tiger watching its prey. Even with great confidence, he didn't wish to suffer such losses. So Tushan finally suppressed his murderous intent, vexingly harumphing before leading the Black and White Temple's disciples towards the Immortal Palace. Meanwhile, the 5 tribulation primordial spirit boy had long vanished. He actually held back. Seeing Tushan restrain himself, not engaging with Yu Jian, the viewing strong men from other forces all showed disappointed expressions. If the major sects begin fighting, it would undoubtedly be great news for them. If the fight results in casualties, that would be even better. Unfortunately, Tushan, despite its reckless appearance, possesses tremendous restraint, dashing their hopes. Watching as Tushan leads his people towards the Immortal Palace, the others dare not be careless and move forward as well. However, the direction of each sect force is not the same, spreading out towards their respective goals. These forces possessing tokens, their ancestors almost all explored the secret realm the last time it appeared. Thus, they left behind many exploration records regarding the secret realm. And now, these forces aim to first seize the opportunities recorded by their ancestors, then plan for other opportunities. After all, according to records, the secret realm opens once every 100,000 years but only remains for a century each time. Time is limited, and they must ensure they don't return empty-handed. Yu Jian, brother, what are you thinking about? Qing Xii saw Yu Jian appearing lost in thought and asked. Nothing. What are your plans now, sister? Yu Jian snapped back to reality. Our sect founder from the Kongming sect left a document that records the location of a side hall we want to visit first. Qing Xii thought for a moment. Just in time, the sword master also gave me a document. We need to visit there. Why don't we separate temporarily to seize the opportunities left by our respective ancestors? Yu Jian knew that the sect forces entering here must have more or less grasped some secrets of the secret realm. He did not wish to probe the secrets of the Kongming sect, so he suggested. All right, just as Yu Jian brother said. After seizing the opportunities, shall we meet again at the entrance of the Immortal Palace? Qing Xii nodded in agreement. It's a deal. Immediately, the disciples from the Sky-Breaking Sword sect and the Kongming sect temporarily separated, heading toward the locations left by their ancestors. Is this the absolute primordial spirit truly terrifying? If it weren't for that sword chi blocking it, I might not have escaped. Lu Qing, who had left the square and entered a building, was still shaken. The power of the Black Bone Claw was indeed terrifying. With his current strength, unless he uses his trump card, he would find it difficult to resist. The key is that he senses the opponent did not use their true power. If tangled, he would surely be unable to escape. Seems like contacting these forces is not wise. Otherwise, with my current strength, I'm as vulnerable as meat on a chopping board. Lu Qing immediately made the decision. Although the young man in white helped earlier, without knowing his true nature, Lu Qing still decided not to make contact. I need to find a place to hide. Lu Qing scanned around. At this moment, he was still far from the Immortal Palace, only in the surrounding area. Around him were many buildings equally majestic and grand, like palaces. However, scanning around, Lu Qing found all the buildings tightly closed, protected by light screens radiating formidable power. Evidently, these buildings were guarded by strong arrays, making entry difficult. With this, it's not good news for him. Soon, those powerful forces will arrive. If he hasn't found a hiding place, he may become a target. As Lu Qing grew anxious, his mind suddenly jolted, and he quickly darted to the side of a palace to hide his figure. Without hesitation, his aura changed instantly and completely concealed, becoming akin to a dead object. Moments after Lu Qing hid, more than 10 powerful figures suddenly appeared at the spot he just occupied. Leading them was an elder with white jade horns. The group of strong individuals did not sense Lu Qing's presence. The elder holding a jade scroll compared it for a while and finally pointed at one of the palaces, revealing a look of delight. This is it. The palace mentioned in the scroll left by the ancestor. It's this one. Upon hearing the words of the elder with white jade horns, everyone showed excitement. According to the scroll left by the ancestor, this side hall contains a treasure vault filled with numerous magical treasures, magic artifacts, and even quite a few spiritual artifacts. As long as they can break the restrictions on the spiritual artifacts, they won't return empty-handed. Immediately, under the elder with white jade horns lead, the crowd began breaking the array light screen surrounding the palace using the method left by the ancestor. Lurking in the shadows, Lu Qing watched this scene with thoughtful silence. He remained quiet, waiting in darkness. It was thanks to his formless and shapeless, ever-changing ability that he could seamlessly blend his aura with the surroundings. Otherwise, other cultivators would have been discovered by these primordial spirit great powers at such close proximity. As Lu Qing waited, soon, the elder with white jade horns and his people successfully opened the array light screen and entered the grand hall. Lu Qing did not follow them inside, but instead took the chance to slip away while maintaining his concealed aura. Even though he knew the elder with white jade horns and his people were inside to retrieve treasure, Lu Qing had no intention. The weakest among them is a primordial spirit 5 tribulations. That elder with white jade horns is a 7 tribulations perfection great power. With his strength, he absolutely cannot provoke so many strong individuals. Still, Lu Qing did not leave without gain. At least he learned that these surrounding palaces of the Immortal Palace contain opportunities. As long as one can break the array light screen outside, they can enter the palace. Break the array, huh? Lu Qing's eyes flickered with a hint of light. Just as Lu Qing formed a plan in his mind, on the other side, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe also led his clan to a secluded palace. Clan leader, is this the place? An elder asked. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe confirmed several times with a jade scroll in hand, then showed joy. Indeed, it's here. The secret record left by the ancestor refers to this side hall. Upon hearing this, all the people of the great Yuan Immortal clan showed delight. Clan leader, time is of the essence. Let's begin, urged the elder. Here we go. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe did not hesitate and immediately performed spell techniques provided by their ancestor onto the array light screen outside the side hall. As the spells landed, the light screen began to ripple like water waves. Seeing this, the great Yuan Immortal clan became even more excited. Even the eyes of the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe filled with excitement. According to the ancestors' records, every item within the secret realm, even the grass and trees, is protected by restrictions. To take anything inside, the restriction must be broken. This side hall, according to the records, is an elixir hall filled with various elixirs. Nonetheless, those elixirs are also guarded by restrictions. However, last time due to spending too much time breaking the array outside the elixir hall, the ancestors didn't have enough time to break the restrictions guarding the elixirs, taking only a small quantity, leaving many treasure pills behind. Now, thanks to the spell techniques left by the ancestors, they save time on breaking the outside array, and can definitely take all the treasure pills. With the last spell cast, the array light screen rippling like water waves finally opened a passage allowing entry. Go! The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe wasted no time leading his clan inside. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe led his clansmen into the side hall. Following the instructions left by the ancestor, they quickly arrived at the treasure vault where the elixirs were stored. After breaking the restriction of the vault, they entered inside and looked at the rows of elixirs kept within restrictions on the treasure shelves. All the people of the great Yuan Immortal clan were filled with joy. They could feel that these elixirs stored within the restrictions were all extremely precious treasure pills, which would have a great effect on them, even as primordial spirit realm cultivators. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe looked at the elixirs on the shelves, his eyes filled with fervor. After a few breaths, he took a deep breath to suppress the excitement in his heart. Let's begin. According to the ancestors' instructions, quickly break these restrictions and retrieve the elixirs. As the people of the great Yuan Immortal clan began to break the restrictions, on the other side, the disciples of the Patian sword sect led by Yu Jian also arrived in front of a palace. Is this the place the sword master described? Yu Jian compared it with the jade scroll given by the sword master before departure. Finally, they confirmed that they had not come to the wrong place. In that case, let's get started. Similar situations occurred in front of various palaces around the Immortal Palace. Upon entering the secret realm, many factions did not attempt to explore the vast Immortal Palace immediately. Instead, they first retrieved opportunities that their ancestors or sect founders had documented but had not yet taken away. During this process, conflicts erupted among different factions, but they quickly subsided. Of course, Lu Qing ignored these disturbances. With his ever-changing, invisible and formless abilities, he concealed all his auras and silently left that area of buildings, while all factions were busy seeking opportunities. He arrived at a nondescript small palace on the edge. Break the restriction, then enter it. Lu Qing looked at the array formation restriction light curtain enveloping the small palace, lost in thought. He had a feeling from before that the number of restrictions in this secret realm was unusually excessive. Even a single jade brick on the ground contained numerous restrictions within. In short, the entire secret realm was like a world of restrictions. Initially, he didn't understand what this meant, but after seeing the actions of the earlier elder with the white jade horn, he had some realization. Could it be that the opportunities in this Guisu secret realm are all related to these omnipresent restrictions? Lu Qing looked at the array formation restriction light curtain and activated his superpower. With Lu Qing's current cultivation realm, the speed of his superpower to probe information had greatly increased. In less than 10 breaths, strips of information floated from within. Xian Yuan restriction. A mysterious restriction created by Guisu Taoist, the Taoist of transformation. This restriction has extremely strong defensive power and possesses the ability to countershock. It can only be broken with restrictive methods. If attacked, it will unleash a 100-fold retaliatory power. Inheritance discovered. Do you wish to download it? So the immortal who created this secret realm is called Guisu Taoist. No wonder it's called Guisu Secret Realm. After Lu Qing read the information, he understood and was pleasantly surprised. He finally knew a bit about the underlying truth of this secret realm. Without hesitation, he chose to download it immediately. Start downloading the current progress. Lu Qing silently waited, and after a while, when the superpower prompted that the download was complete and whether to simulate, he chose to simulate. After a while, simulation complete. Do you wish to start learning? Lu Qing sensed his surroundings. The small palace he chose this time was in a very secluded location. Therefore, within the sensing range at that moment, there were no other living creatures present. After pondering for a moment, Lu Qing called out Little Li from the leaving fire tripod. Aqing. As Little Li emerged, it immediately leaped into Lu Qing's arms, then looked around. Ah Qing, where is this place? Seeing the surroundings and the restriction light curtain in front, Little Li said in shock. From the restriction light curtain, it sensed an extremely terrifying might. This is the Guisu secret realm. We were brought here by the void flying boat. Guisu secret realm. Little Li was even more shocked. It naturally knew what that was. It had listened in when Lu Qing and the elder doctor were discussing it. Unexpectedly, the void flying boat brought them here. Exactly, it is the Guisu secret realm. I will explain the specifics to you later, but I need to comprehend some things now. Hide in my arms while concealing your aura to protect me. If anyone approaches, notify me immediately, Lu Qing said solemnly. Okay, I understand. Recognizing the seriousness in Lu Qing's tone, Little Li nodded immediately. It suddenly shrank in size until it was only palm-sized, concealing all its aura, and burrowed into Lu Qing's arms. Seeing this, Lu Qing nodded in reassurance. The true Dragon 9 transformations practiced by Little Li were extremely mysterious. After concealing its aura, even the supreme primordial spirit would find it difficult to detect unless they came close. Moreover, given the uniqueness of the Guisu secret realm, the spiritual sense of primordial spirit realm cultivators was greatly suppressed. Yet, Little Li's extraordinary sensing ability had an excellent alert effect. As such, even if someone approached this area, he could know in advance. Sitting cross-legged on the spot, Lu Qing immediately chose to learn the inheritance he had just simulated. Instantly, countless insights flooded from the depths of his mind. After achieving the primordial spirit, Lu Qing's original talent had also reached an extremely extraordinary level. Even without the aid of superpowers, throughout the entire starry sky, few could compare. Thus, despite the inheritance just simulated from downloading superpowers being vast, Lu Qing absorbed and comprehended it quickly. Before long, when Lu Qing opened his eyes again, a spirit light was flickering in them. So that's it. The mystical prohibition created by the Guisu Taoist is indeed unparalleled in its mystery, ever-changing, with everything returning to mystic origins, containing infinite mysteries. A look of joy appeared on Lu Qing's face, truly worthy of a restriction created by an immortal who understood the Tao. Having pondered over the prohibition for such a short while, he felt the profundity and exquisite nature within it. However, after the initial joy, Lu Qing's face showed a hint of regret. The pity is, within this prohibition light screen, there is only a small part of the mystical prohibition's inheritance contained. More knowledge of the inheritance will probably require more effort to gather. Indeed, what Lu Qing downloaded and simulated was merely a portion of the mystical prohibition inheritance, and a very small part at that. It seems these prohibition light screens are like the great array of the Zhoutian city in the heavenly origin great world back then, with each light screen containing only part of the prohibition inheritance. To gather the entire inheritance, he probably needs to slowly download from each prohibition light screen. But under the current circumstances, it clearly doesn't allow Lu Qing to do so, hence his feeling of regret. However, Lu Qing soon calmed himself down. Although the attraction of gathering the entire inheritance is great, his most important task now is to ensure the safety of himself and Little Li first. Lu Qing's gaze fell upon the prohibition light screen in front of him. After the previous contemplation, although he cannot say that he fully mastered the downloaded prohibition knowledge, the prohibition light screen in front of him no longer held any secrets to him. His fingers quickly transformed, and within a short time, Lu Qing conjured countless seal formations that fell onto the prohibition light screen in front of him. Immediately, the entire prohibition light screen started rippling like water, and in a few breaths, an opening split apart. Lu Qing didn't hesitate, holding Little Li as he leaped in immediately, then threw out another set of seal formations onto the light screen. The opening he had just created began to heal quickly. In an instant, it returned to its original state, becoming seamless again. If other primordial spirit great powers from other factions were to witness this scene, they would be incredibly shocked. Because this signifies that Lu Qing has already completely controlled the prohibition light screen. It should be known, even they can barely break open the prohibition but cannot restore it. And this is even after their ancestors and patriarchs had painstakingly pondered over it, consuming a great deal of effort. Seeing the prohibition light screen restored as before, Lu Qing finally breathed a sigh of relief. The prohibition light screen of this remote small hall isn't particularly advanced. It still belongs to the primordial spirit realm. It's just because the mystical prohibition is too exquisite that the prohibition crafted could unleash power exceeding the limits of primordial spirit. Now that he's within the light screen, even if discovered, it would be hard for anyone to threaten him. Even the large man in the black and white Taoist robe from before would find it difficult to break the prohibition light screen in front of him. As for breaking the prohibition, Lu Qing was even less worried. From the inheritance he just obtained, he already knows that every prohibition light screen before the halls on the periphery of the Immortal Palace is different. To break them, the corresponding method must be used. He doesn't believe that the large man in the black and white Taoist robe would just happen to know the prohibition-breaking method of this remote small hall. In other words, now he and Little Li are truly safe. After relaxing, Lu Qing carried Little Li and turned to walk into the small hall. Then he discovered that the inside of the small hall was empty and desolate. Aside from some tables and chairs, there was nothing else. Of course, those tables and chairs are actually treasures, all crafted from top-grade spirit jade. If they were outside, they would also be highly sought-after treasures. Lu Qing looked around and saw that these tables and chairs were also shrouded in prohibitions. To take them, he would have to break the prohibition. He did not rush to break the prohibition but instead searched the entire small hall inside and out meticulously. Finally, he had a discovery in one of the rooms. It was a room that seemed like the main bedroom, perhaps once used by the original owner of this small hall. A treasure sword hung on the wall in the room. The treasure sword was also shrouded in a prohibition light screen, but Lu Qing could sense the terrifying power contained within. Ah Qing, I can feel that this treasure sword is a very extraordinary treasure. Little Li burrowed into Lu Qing's embrace, only showing its head. It looked excitedly at the treasure sword on the wall. Its instinctual treasure-seeking sense told it that this treasure sword was an extremely powerful magical treasure. Yes, Lu Qing was also a bit expectant, and he immediately activated his superpower to probe its information. After more than 10 breaths, several informational strips floated from the treasure sword. When Lu Qing finished reading those strips, an expression of delight appeared on his face. The sword is named Green Mist, and it's actually a high-quality spirit sword. Lu Qing felt very excited. He hadn't expected that in the most remote small hall he deliberately chose, he still found such a treasure. This is a high-grade spirit artifact, and it's a spirit sword at that. It's important to know that among the spiritual artifacts he possesses, even the Leaving Fire tripod is only a middle-grade peak spiritual artifact right now. The only exception is the Void Flying Boat, which has been restored to high-grade spirit artifact power. But the Void Flying Boat is renowned for its speed with the ability to traverse voids, not having particularly strong attack capabilities. In contrast, a high-grade spirit sword is different. Sword-type spirit artifacts are famous for their attack power. If a high-grade spirit sword unleashes its full potential, it may rank among the best of all high-grade spirit artifacts. In his excitement, Lu Qing immediately focused on the Prohibition light screen covering the treasure sword. A few breaths later, information regarding this Prohibition light screen also emerged. As expected by Lu Qing, this prohibition was also a mystical prohibition containing inheritance. However, its internal structure differs from the prohibition outside the small hall. But for Lu Qing, this wasn't a problem. Before long, he finished downloading and comprehending the inheritance within the prohibition and then broke the Prohibition light screen, reaching for the treasure sword. Without any surprises, the treasure sword was smoothly taken down by Lu Qing. Lu Qing admired it for a while, then immersed his heart and spirit into the sword, leaving his primordial spirit mark within it and initially refining it. The pity is the spirit of this spirit sword is no longer here. Otherwise, the sword would not just be at the initial stage of a high grade. Indeed, the high-grade spirit sword in Lu Qing's hand does not have an artifact spirit. He discovered this while probing with his superpower earlier. Otherwise, he would not have dared to unprotectedly take an upper-grade spirit artifact by hand. He even found out that this small hall actually has quite a background. It was the residence of a direct disciple of the Guishu Taoist, and Green Mist was his accompanying sword. However, this direct disciple of the Guishu Taoist had a solitary nature and didn't like interacting with people, which is why he resided in this remote small hall. As for where this direct disciple went, why he didn't take the treasure sword, or where the sword's artifact spirit went, Lu Qing didn't know. Although superpowers can probe information, the information strips discovered are limited, preventing him from knowing everything. Of course, the disappearance of the spirit of the Green Mist spirit sword is not necessarily a bad thing for Lu Qing. Otherwise, refining a high-grade spirit artifact with an artifact spirit would not be easy. If the artifact spirit doesn't submit to him, that would be even more troublesome. Now with the spirit gone, although the spirit sword's power has decreased a bit, it saves him a lot of trouble. After initially refining Green Mist, Lu Qing stored it away. His gaze fell on the other items in the room. To be accurate, on the Prohibition light screen covering those items. Lu Qing looked at those items more precisely, the restriction light screens surrounding them, with a gleam in his eyes. Having just broken through another restriction light screen, Lu Qing gained some insights into the Yuanxian restriction. He immediately realized that the true value of this remote small hall had not yet been fully unearthed by him. Or rather, these restriction light screens were the real opportunity for him. Yuanxian restriction was a supreme forbidden technique created by that immortal of transformation, Guishu Taoist. As long as one could master this supreme forbidden technique, they would be like a fish in water in this secret realm filled with restrictions. By then, even facing the numerous strong opponents outside, he would at least have some means to save his life. However, mastering the Yuanxian restriction was not easy. Through these two downloads and insights, Lu Qing had sensed that the restrictions in this secret realm contained partial inheritance of the Yuanxian restriction. In the current situation, it was clear that he couldn't download the inheritance from everywhere and fully grasp the Yuanxian restriction. But downloading all the fragmented inheritances of the restrictions in this small hall was still manageable. In the following period, Lu Qing began to move around the small hall. He spent a day downloading the inheritance from all the restriction light screens he could see. During this time, some other strong individuals occasionally passed by, but because of the existence of the restrictions, they neither noticed Lu Qing inside nor wanted to waste energy on this remote small palace. Therefore, Lu Qing was undisturbed, and after downloading all the restriction inheritances in the small hall, he sat cross-legged in the center of the great hall, preparing to comprehend the inherits he had downloaded and simulated. As Lu Qing meditated, a large amount of insightful information surged in his mind. The entire palace fell back into silence. Days later, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes. The spirit light of insight still lingered in his eyes, and a look of joy appeared on his face. So that's how it is. The complete Yuanxian restriction is composed of 100,000 minor restrictions, 3,000 medium restrictions, and 108 major restrictions. All around the secret realm, the restriction light screens covering countless items and bricks are formed by those 100,000 minor restrictions. Meanwhile, the outer palace halls of this immortal palace, including some side halls within, each contain a medium restriction. As for the main structure of the immortal palace, it is sealed by those 108 major restrictions. Lu Qing was in awe. After comprehending all the restriction inheritances within this small hall, countless insights converged into a complete technique, floating in his mind. At the same time, the information hidden within the inheritance was also deciphered by him. It was then that he understood why there were restrictions everywhere in this secret realm. It turned out that the sum of all the restrictions within the secret realm constituted the truly complete Yuanxian restriction. The 100,000 minor restrictions, each possessing the strength of the golden core realm, the 3,000 medium restrictions, each at the primordial spirit level, and the 108 major restrictions, each with power beyond the primordial spirit. And the great array formed by combining these 100,000 minor restrictions, 3,000 medium restrictions, and 108 major restrictions is the true Yuanxian restriction. It's also the most prized cultivation technique of that Gui Su Daoist. Lu Qing was filled with shock. He knew that his earlier guess was correct. One of the most precious opportunities within this secret realm was hidden within the omnipresent restrictions. If he could learn the complete Yuanxian restriction, the rewards of this trip to the secret realm would be incalculable. With his hands swiftly moving, countless runes were continuously generated, and eventually, a restriction formed between Lu Qing's hands. This restriction was small, but the aura it emitted was indistinguishable from that of the restriction light screen enveloping the entire small hall. Because their essence was the same, except this restriction in Lu Qing's hands was far less powerful. Though the way of restriction is exquisite, in truth it is akin to the way of array derived from the rune path, and strictly speaking, restriction itself is a type of array. Feeling the changes of the restriction in his hand, Lu Qing had numerous insights. He was already a master in array with profound expertise in the rune array path. Now he had also obtained a medium restriction inheritance of the Yuanxian restriction. Instantly, his past accumulations crashed with the newly gained inheritance, generating countless insights in his mind. Each medium restriction is essentially composed of many minor restrictions. So I don't need to download all the restriction light screens in the entire secret realm. Just mastering the medium restrictions that envelop the 3,000 side halls will naturally allow me to master those 100,000 minor restrictions. For others, wanting to practice the Yuanxian restriction would almost require starting from the minor restrictions. But Lu Qing was different. Being already a master in array, with profound comprehension of the rune path, coupled with the help of his superpower, he could immediately start cultivating and mastering medium restrictions. As for major restrictions, those belong to the domain beyond primordial spirit, which is currently beyond his reach. However, to fully master the 3,000 medium restrictions will probably take considerable time, so I must act quickly. Lu Qing had no idea how long the secret realm would remain active once it manifested, so he had to act swiftly. The more restrictions he mastered, the greater his chance of learning the Yuanxian restriction. Moreover, as long as he mastered enough medium restrictions, even if he couldn't thoroughly download them all, he could still deduce the remaining restrictions. After all, the variations all stem from the same source, with his talent, combined with the marvels of his superpower. Once he mastered enough information, he might even create his own unique restriction divine skill. Having resolved to act, Lu Qing instructed little Li to return to the leaving fire tripod, then turned and exited the small hall, opening the restriction light screen, and stepped outside. Standing outside, compared to his previous trepidation, Lu Qing now appeared much calmer. With a grasp of a medium restriction, not only could he more perfectly conceal his aura, but he could even leverage a trace of the power of restriction from the outside world. This trace of power of restriction, though not strong enough to confront enemies, could allow him to sense the approach of enemies in advance. In this way, it would be even more challenging for others to discover him. And if everything went smoothly thereafter, as he mastered more and more restrictions, the power of restriction he could summon in the secret realm would grow stronger. At that point, this would become his strongest trump card in this secret realm. Looking at the rows of palaces ahead, Lu Qing's eyes shone brightly. Puff! With a soft sound, a restriction was broken, revealing the jade bottle inside. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe showed joy in his eyes and took the jade bottle down. As he examined the jade bottle, a look of ecstatic joy suddenly appeared on his face. The other clan members, seeing this, also felt their hearts race. Clan leader, could this be? Indeed, what's inside the jade bottle is the breakthrough elixir. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe held the jade bottle tightly. His heart and spirit stirred. Back then, the ancestors had obtained a breakthrough elixir in this elixir hall. Finally, relying on the power of the elixir, they broke through the bottleneck, overcame tribulations, and achieved Dao integration. This extended the fortune of the De Yuan immortal clan for another 10,000 years. Although the records left by the ancestors said there might still be breakthrough elixirs in the elixir hall. But until it was truly confirmed, the heart of the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe was still anxious. After all, taking the risk to enter the secret realm was substantial. If he, the clan leader, were to fall in the secret realm, then the De Yuan immortal clan would truly decline. Even preserving the great world of De Yuan would become uncertain. Now, having finally obtained a breakthrough elixir, how could he not be excited? The other clan members were also enormously excited at this moment. An elder immediately said, "Clan leader, with the breakthrough elixir in hand, take the elixir quickly and break through. We'll form an array to conceal your aura." "All right, I'll trouble you then." After calming his emotions, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe nodded slightly. He did not decline because here, no one was more qualified to take the breakthrough elixir than him. Only after he breaks through can he sweep through other forces in this secret realm and seize other opportunities. Immediately, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe sat down cross-legged on the spot, took the elixir from the jade bottle, and swallowed it in one go. The other clan members didn't bother breaking the remaining restrictions on the treasure racks. Instead, they clustered together, setting up an array to completely conceal the clan leader's breakthrough aura. After all, once the clan leader breaks through, achieving the 9 tribulations primordial spirit, that would be their greatest support in competing for opportunities in this secret realm. As the clan members finished setting up the array, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe also triggered his own tribulation. Suddenly, heavenly might descended upon the treasure vault, and countless gray energy emerged from his body. Is this the set of spirit sword the master mentioned? In a massive palace, Yu Jian, along with his junior brothers and sisters, finally broke through the restriction of the treasure vault after days of unraveling. Upon entering the treasure vault, they were somewhat amazed looking at the dozens of flying swords hovering over the treasure racks inside. As for his junior brothers and sisters behind him, they naturally were also in a daze. They could sense that these flying swords were tremendously powerful, outshining the spirit swords in their hands by far. After several breaths, Yu Jian returned to his senses. "Let's start. As long as these spirit swords are obtained, your strength will enhance by a margin, providing more assurance for this journey." "Yes, senior brother." On another side, Tu Shan from the Black and White Temple also showed a smile while gazing at the treasure vault ahead. It seems the instructions left by the ancestor were true. With the aid of this treasure, the opportunity in the secret realm of Guisu is certainly ours at the Black and White Temple. In a certain pink palace, Peach Fairy gazed at a scarlet silk magical treasure, her eyes fervent. Those able to enter the secret realm of Guisu are generally long-standing, extraordinary forces in the outside world. Furthermore, with the blessings left by their respective ancestors and masters, during the time Lu Qing was comprehending restrictions, they found their own opportunities. Of course, these were unrelated to Lu Qing. After coming out from that remote small hall, he didn't rashly seek out those large palaces. Instead, he picked a small palace similarly on the outskirts, surveyed carefully to ensure no one was nearby, and quietly proceeded with download simulations. Each palace houses unique medium-sized restrictions. Thus, Lu Qing needed to first download and simulate the heritage within, comprehend it, then open them. However, he estimated that as long as he comprehended and mastered a certain number of medium-sized restrictions, even without download simulations, he should be able to open the restrictions in other palaces. Since knowledge is interconnected, as these are parts of the Xian Yuan restrictions, there are considerable similarities among them. It didn't take long for Lu Qing to finish downloading and comprehending the heritage on the restriction light screen of the new small palace. He casually cast a series of spells, broke the light screen, and went inside. First searching the small palace, front and back, Lu Qing found his luck was somewhat wanting this time. Inside the palace, there were no treasures. It was truly empty. Not finding treasures didn't dishearten Lu Qing, as his main focus was the medium-sized restrictions housed in the small palace. Without delay, Lu Qing continued downloading simulations of the heritage from all restriction light screens within the palace and began to comprehend them. Over the following period, Lu Qing carefully operated on the outskirts. Relying on the wonders of superpower, he continuously downloaded and comprehended the medium-sized restrictions from various small palaces. And with each comprehension, gaining mastery over a medium-sized restriction, Lu Qing could further redirect a trace of the power of restriction within the secret realm. This allowed him to conceal his aura and tracks more perfectly. Plus, various forces were focused on breaking restrictions, obtaining treasures and opportunities. So no one has discovered that there is still a primordial spirit realm individual moving independently. Even the demonic Tu Shan, tempted by the treasure, momentarily forgets to search for Lu Qing's whereabouts. For most factions, even if they have secret records left by their predecessors, breaking restrictions is not an easy task. After all, their predecessors also explored blindly back then, as if blind men feeling an elephant, unclear on how the restrictions actually operate. Their experiences can only serve as references, not easily open all restrictions in the treasure vault. Otherwise, it would not have taken them a century without fully exploring the peripheral areas of the Immortal Palace when their forebears entered the secret realm. Time passes quietly as the many factions work on breaking restrictions. Soon a month goes by. During this month, the various factions inside the secret realm did not erupt into any conflicts. After all, the number of palaces in the periphery of the Immortal Palace is considerable, and they are busy exploring vigorously. Engaging in battles now would merely waste time. In one of the palaces, Lu Qing sits cross-legged at the very center, with eyes closed in contemplation. After a while, he opens his eyes, flips his palm, and countless runes surge and interweave, eventually forming a restriction that floats above his palm. Upon closer inspection, the restriction condensed by Lu Qing does not have a set form but is constantly changing. Each transformation results in a different restriction. In just a few breaths, it has already morphed into more than 10 different restrictions. At last, I've comprehended some interchanging transformations of this medium talisman. Lu Qing looks at the continually changing restriction on his palm and smiles. Over the past month, he quietly moved among the various palaces on the outskirts of the Immortal Palace, avoiding other factions. After downloading and comprehending the restrictions contained in each of the 100 palaces, myriad insights amassed, allowing him to finally grasp a subtlety of the Xian Yuan's restriction. Understanding some of the interconnections among these 100 medium restrictions. With this insight, I won't need to prepare downloads when entering other peripheral palaces next. I can directly break the restriction barrier and enter. Lu Qing feels delighted inside. The newly gained insight is very important to him. It signifies a further step in his comprehension of the Xian Yuan's restriction. Moreover, it gives him an extra life-saving card. The restrictions enveloping the peripheral palaces of the Immortal Palace are extremely formidable. Even the supreme primordial spirits find them hard to break. However, being able to break restrictions at will, he can easily find a palace to hide in if confronted with danger. This undoubtedly ensures his safety greatly. More crucially, it also means he can sneak into some palaces and take away the treasures within. It's time to delve a little deeper. Lu Qing retracts the restriction on his palm and looks ahead. During this past month, to avoid other factions, he kept to the outermost areas, lest he be discovered. But now, since he can break other medium restrictions directly, he might try moving closer inward. After all, he presently only has control over 100 medium restrictions, while the complete Xian Yuan's restriction comprises up to 3,000 medium restrictions. And during this month, he noticed that the small palaces in the periphery are mostly empty, devoid of any treasures. In the past month, he explored over 100 palaces. Yet, the most precious treasure he acquired was the high-grade spirit sword from the very first small palace. Thus, Lu Qing speculates that if any precious treasures remain in these palaces, they are likely located in the largest among them. However, those large palaces are being explored by other factions, so during this period, Lu Qing has not ventured near them. Now that he possesses the ability to break restrictions freely, he can afford to take risks. Once he sets his mind, Lu Qing acts immediately. He exits the palace he is currently in, observes briefly, then heads towards a relatively larger palace ahead. Quickly and quietly, Lu Qing arrives in front of that palace. He swiftly performs a series of spells onto the restriction barrier. Instantly, the barrier ripples open, forming a gap. Seeing this, Lu Qing's face breaks into a smile. Although he had confidence, seeing that his insight was indeed correct is very pleasing. Without hesitation, Lu Qing immediately slips through and casually restores the gap in the barrier. Then, he stealthily enters the palace to start exploration. After a day, when Lu Qing emerges from the palace again, his face beams with a smile. Because within this palace, he finally made a gain, and quite a good one at that. He acquired some rare and precious refining materials. Though still not as valuable as the green mist, they are nonetheless quite costly. In the future, whether used to enhance the grade of commonly used spirit artifacts or to refine magical treasure array plates, they are certainly useful. Indeed, larger palaces are more likely to contain treasures. Lu Qing's eyes gleam with light as he pinpoints another palace to stealthily approach. In this manner, Lu Qing spends more than 10 days exploring several dozens of palaces. In controlling some dozens more medium restrictions, he acquires some treasures to varying extents. However, these treasures still cannot surpass the Green Mist Spirit Sword. It seems even within this Guishu secret realm, high-grade spirit artifacts are still considered highly precious treasures. Lu Qing perceives. This indicates his luck is indeed good. Exploring the first palace, he managed to obtain a high-grade spirit artifact. If that's the case, should I venture a bit further inside? Lu Qing looks at the far-off largest dozens of palaces, feeling hesitant. If his conjecture is correct, these largest palaces must contain even more precious treasures. But likewise, powerful factions within the secret realm are undoubtedly gathering there. Facing those supreme primordial spirits, even if he has grasped a bit of the ability to manipulate the power of restriction now, he cannot guarantee he won't be detected. Currently, though capable of breaking the restriction barriers of these peripheral palaces, it takes him at least several breaths. In front of a genuine strong entity, several breaths' time is enough for numerous actions. Forget it. Shouldn't be overly greedy. Continuing to master more medium restrictions is crucial. Even the best treasures need the capacity to hold onto them. Lu Qing thinks it over and ultimately decides not to be excessively adventurous. The most vital task for him now is still grasping more medium restrictions. If he can delve deeper into the true essence of the Xian Yuan's restriction, understand more common principles among the medium restrictions, he would be able to shatter these peripheral palace restriction barriers in a thought or a breath. Alternatively, he may control more of the secret realm's power of restriction. By then, he would truly have the confidence to confront other factions. Suppressing the impulse within, Lu Qing refrains from delving further inside. Instead, he continues exploring the surrounding palaces. So, another month passes. In a medium palace, Lu Qing wakes up from his insights. With a flip of his palm, this time, runes emerge rapidly, forming a restriction that continuously changes and jumps between breaths. Finally, under the accumulation of insights from 500 medium restrictions, I've comprehended the true essence of this medium restriction to a small success realm. Lu Qing looks at the flickering restriction on his palm. Within each breath, multiple tens of restrictions transform on his palm. Such mastery even a Tao-transforming immortal would be startled seeing. But Lu Qing himself is not surprised. Just now, he has reached a point where, within each breath, multiple tens of restrictions transform on his palm. Such mastery even a Tao-transforming immortal would be startled seeing. But Lu Qing himself is not surprised. Just now, he has reached a point where Lu Qing's goal is to master as many of the 3,000 medium-level restrictions within the secret realm as possible. He believes, with his talent and the aid of his superpower, as long as he masters most of the medium restrictions, even if he fails to gather all 3,000, he can deduce the rest. Previously, he was wary of other factions, but now, having mastered 500 medium restrictions, not only can he effortlessly break through the restrictive light screens of the perimeter palaces with a thought, the power of restriction he can mobilize from the secret realm has also slightly increased. Do not underestimate this fractional increase in the power of restriction within the secret realm. It should be known that the space of the Guisu secret realm is incredibly stable and solid. Even a great power at the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit cannot shake it, with their speed and strength being highly restricted, making even flight impossible. Yet, the fraction of secret realm restriction power that Lu Qing can wield reduces the suppression of the Guisu secret realm on him by a bit. In this back and forth, the gap between him and those top-tier primordial spirits has narrowed considerably. Of course, this gap does not mean Lu Qing now possesses the strength to contend with top-tier primordial spirits, as that is not yet realistic. It means the cards he holds now provide the confidence to avoid being immediately suppressed upon encountering them. Furthermore, he can use the geographical advantage of the secret realm to make a cautious retreat. Putting away the restriction in his hand, Lu Qing got up and left the palace, gazing forward. To be precise, he was looking at those dozens of most imposing, majestic palaces ahead. Lu Qing knew that those various factions that had previously entered the secret realm were mostly in those dozens of palaces, cracking restrictions and exploring treasures. However, the Xian Yuan restriction is extremely intricate, and these factions without inheritance can only grope blindly to crack it. Their speed in cracking it won't be fast. It might take decades without fully cracking a single palace. Previously, Lu Qing didn't dare to venture too close to that side. Now, although he can break the restrictive light screen with a single thought, greatly increasing his survival ability, he can give it a try. But in doing so, he has instead become not urgent. After comprehending a touch of the true essence of the Xian Yuan restriction, he is no longer as greedy for treasures. If he can master more medium-level restrictions and thus control more power of restrictions within the secret realm, by that time, the ubiquitous power of restrictions within the Guisu secret realm might become his greatest asset. He might even be able to glimpse into that vast immortal palace in the center of the secret realm. Thinking of this, Lu Qing once again suppressed his burgeoning thoughts. Compared to the secrets of the immortal palace, the treasures in the palaces outside are merely complements. So there's no need for him to take risks now and head to the largest of those palaces. If he were to conflict with other factions, It would impede his comprehension progress, which would be a bad trade. After calming his heart and spirit, Lu Qing continued to search other palaces, but still carefully avoiding those largest dozens of palaces. Days later, as Lu Qing quietly arrived in front of a rather peripheral palace, he noticed the gap in the restrictive light screen, causing a slight tremor in his heart. How come even such a remote palace has a faction cracking it? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. The more important thing was that his spiritual sense detected that within this palace, something incredibly frightening seemed to be brewing. He pondered for a moment, refrained from making any unnecessary moves, and slowly retreated while continuing to gather his aura. Right after Lu Qing retreated, within the treasury of the palace, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe who was sitting crossed-legged suddenly opened his eyes, a trace of confusion flashing through them. "Clan leader, what's wrong?" The elder maintaining the array around them asked. "Strange, I seem to sense some living creature peering from the outside just now, but upon closer sensing, there's nothing," the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe said, frowning. "Someone is peering, how could that be? Clan leader, you've already stepped into the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit. Even the likes of Tu Shan and He Ming at the peak of 8 tribulations should not escape your primordial spirit sense." The elder remarked skeptically. "Perhaps it's a figment of my imagination." The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe thought it made sense. He guessed that it might be the heart demon generated during his recent crossing the tribulation, which hadn't been thoroughly purged, leading to his suspicion. Reflecting on the earlier experience of crossing the tribulation, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe's heart trembled slightly. Although he has successfully crossed the tribulation now, it's undeniable that the 9th tribulation of primordial spirit is indeed terrifying. Not only does it involve the deathly chi of heavenly human 5 decays eroding the physical body, but countless heart demon illusions also threaten to obliterate his primordial spirit. If not for the assistance of the breakthrough pill, his life during this crossing the tribulation would have been precarious. Fortunately, he has persevered through it all. Now, having entered the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit, his realm stands above everyone else in the secret realm. He can say he has a sure opportunity in the upcoming quest for fortunes. No, I still need to continue to consolidate. Although I've just broken through, the gap is still not large enough until I've fully stabilized the 9th tribulation, ensuring nothing will go wrong. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe suppressed his fluctuating heart and spirit. Though he stepped into the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit, he knows well that direct disciples from mighty sects like Yu Jian and He Ming hold numerous trump cards. Perhaps they possess powerful magical treasures bestowed by their sects for protection. For him to suppress these extraordinary geniuses, he must continue to enhance his power. Moreover, the sudden peeping just now also made him vigilant. Whether someone is truly spying from outside without him noticing, or if there is still a heart demon within his primordial spirit, it all indicates that he has not yet reached the true pinnacle. According to the records left by the Patriarch, once I truly stabilize my realm, the Immortal Palace should officially open. I shall break through the checkpoints that the Patriarchs could not pass back then. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe let his thoughts settle, then slowly calmed down and entered a state of cultivation again. The aura of that palace just now seemed even more formidable than that of the burly Great Han in the black and white Taoist robe before. Lu Qing, who had been hiding his aura, entered another deserted palace after leaving that remote one. Only after confirming complete safety did he let out a sigh of relief. Recalling the aura he sensed in that remote palace earlier, he couldn't help but feel startled. The feeling of that aura seemed even more terrifying than the one from the burly Great Han in the black and white Taoist robe, who wanted to suppress him as soon as he entered the secret realm. If he hadn't hidden his aura with the power of restriction in the secret realm, he probably would have been discovered. Sure enough, those who came to explore the secret realm this time aren't to be underestimated. I just don't know which faction is lurking in that palace just now. Lu Qing secretly remained on guard in his heart. It's obvious that among the forces exploring the secret realm, there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Many forces are concealing more terrifying existences behind their seemingly simple surface. Unfortunately, under the current circumstances, he cannot use his superpower to probe the information of these forces and can only deal with them cautiously. After contemplating for a while, Lu Qing put this matter aside and prepared to meditate on the restrictions of the palace he was in. In the time that followed, Lu Qing continued to secretly wander between the many palaces, constantly downloading the inheritances of restrictions. However, due to the aura he sensed before, he became even more cautious. And so, another 3 months passed. In a medium-sized palace, the seated Lu Qing opened his eyes. With a thought, the restriction light curtains surrounding the palace also trembled slightly, seeming to ripple with his thoughts. Lu Qing extended his hand, and a flame-like restriction instantly appeared in his palm, flickering continuously. If observed carefully, one would find that every flicker of the flame restriction contained dozens of restrictions changing and interchanging within it. Indeed, after comprehending and mastering 2,000 medium-sized restrictions, my control over the power of restrictions in the secret realm has become stronger, and I can even mobilize some of the power of medium-sized restrictions covering these palaces. Lu Qing looked at the flame restriction dancing in his hand with a satisfied expression. After months of tireless introspection, he finally mastered control over 2,000 medium-sized restrictions. Thus, his understanding of the true essence of the Xian Yuan restriction deepened further. The flame restriction in his hands was the culmination of his comprehension. It contained the common meaning of those 2,000 medium-sized restrictions and could change into any restriction he mastered at any time. More importantly, as his understanding deepened, the power of the Gui Su secret realm's restrictions that he could mobilize became stronger. The suppression of the entire secret realm on him also significantly weakened again. With the weakening of the suppressive power, in the secret realm now, my speed alone is unmatched by few. Lu Qing pondered silently, feeling the lightness on his body. When he first entered the secret realm, the stagnant space here made even his formidable physical body feel uncomfortable. But now, with much of the suppressive power gone, he could easily unleash his true strength. If he were to face that burly Great Han in the black and white Taoist robe again, he might still be no match, but he would no longer be at the mercy of the opponent. With the advantage of the terrain, it could be said that he now finally possessed the true ability to protect himself. I've explored most of the palaces on the outskirts of the Immortal Palace. It's time to delve further in. Lu Qing stood at the palace entrance, looking ahead. Although the medium-sized restrictions contained within the Xian Yuan restriction number 3,000, over these days, he also discovered that the palaces on the outskirts of the Immortal Palace are not 3,000 in number but only over 2,000. Some of the more important palaces are at the foot of the vast Immortal Palace. However, those places are blocked by a terrifyingly powerful wall, making it impossible to approach. In other words, among the palaces on the outskirts of the Immortal Palace, only those dozens of the most majestic ones remain unexplored by him. Lu Qing had been cautiously avoiding that side in the past, but now, with his increased survival ability, he finally had the confidence to explore those areas. With a flicker, Lu Qing disappeared from the palace, reappearing before the restriction light curtain. If witnessed by experts from other forces, such speed would surely astonish them. To unleash such speed under the suppression of the secret realm is truly extraordinary. Standing before the restriction light curtain, with just a thought, without needing to cast a spell, the curtain silently opened a passage. Lu Qing stepped out, and the opening in the curtain healed itself instantly. This was the ability he gained after comprehending and mastering 2,000 medium-sized restrictions. Now, he no longer needed to form seal formations. With just a shift of divine thought, he could break through the restriction curtains outside various palaces. After leaving the palace, his aura transformed, completely blending into the fluctuations of the surrounding restrictions. He then turned into a wisp of green smoke, quietly approaching a large palace ahead. As he drew near to that palace, after checking and confirming there was no one inside, with a thought, the curtain quickly opened a passage, and Lu Qing slipped inside. An hour later, when Lu Qing emerged from the palace, there was a smile on his face. In that palace, he discovered numerous elixirs. After using his superpower to probe, he found some of them to be quite useful to him, yielding considerable gains. Of course, the medium-sized restrictions of this palace were also mastered by Lu Qing. As Lu Qing mastered more medium-sized restrictions, his speed in comprehending new ones greatly accelerated. Now, even without using his superpower to download, a mere glance could allow him to analyze the principles of other medium-sized restrictions. In the time that followed, Lu Qing continued this method, exploring several large palaces and acquiring numerous treasures. In one of the palaces, he even obtained a middle-grade peak spiritual artifact no less than the Leaving Fire tripod. But as the saying goes, one who often walks by the river cannot avoid getting wet. As Lu Qing headed for the next palace, halfway there, a massive power suddenly erupted from a palace up ahead. Soon, several powerful figures rushed out of the palace Lu Qing intended to go to, heading towards his location. Have I been discovered? Lu Qing couldn't believe it. It's known that having mastered more than 2,000 medium-sized restrictions, he could completely blend his aura into the surrounding environment. By rights, even a primordial spirit realm expert shouldn't be able to sense his aura. But quickly, Lu Qing realized he guessed wrong. Those figures were not coming for him but were being pursued. Because as soon as they rushed out from the palace in front, more powerful figures emerged, casting numerous Taoist magical treasures, bombarding the fleeing figures ahead. Lu Qing even saw that the pursuers were clad in black and white Taoist robes, the very forces that sought to suppress him upon entry into the secret realm. You really can't predict heaven's plans with man's calculations. Lu Qing sighed. Those wearing the black and white Taoist robes unleashed attacks with a vast range of impact. Not only did it affect the few fleeing experts, but his position was also entirely affected. In other words, this time he was purely collateral damage. The sudden mishap made Lu Qing feel helpless. Despite his careful and cautious preparations, no matter how cautious he was, man plans but heaven decides. He couldn't foresee such a sudden situation right before him. Feeling the terrifying incoming attack, its power was overwhelming, even under the oppressive force of the secret realm. Lu Qing knew that it was impossible for him to hide his abilities now. An attack from more than 10 primordial spirit great powers of the 5 tribulations level, even an outstanding primordial spirit couldn't completely ignore it. Not to mention that this was a joint strike from the core disciples of top sects under the stars. Although Lu Qing's current strength was formidable, he couldn't easily withstand it head-on. Under the intense pressure of crisis, Lu Qing's figure flickered, like a puff of smoke, and at the critical moment, he instantly took flight, escaping the terrifying power coverage. But those figures fleeing in front of him were not so lucky. The Black and White Temple's disciples' attack originally targeted them. Under the burst of power, even those people who are also 5 tribulation primordial spirit cultivators found it hard to resist. In just a blink of an eye, they were all heavily injured and fell to the ground. Standing at the back and disdainful of taking action, Demon Tushan was first surprised when he saw this scene, but his eyes lit up when he saw Lu Qing. "Kid, it's you. Truly. I searched high and low only to find you here. I thought you'd stay hidden in some corner, but you had the guts to appear here." As soon as he finished speaking, Demon Tushan's figure had already shot out, heading towards Lu Qing. He didn't have time to contemplate why Lu Qing suddenly appeared here, but he knew this kid was very cunning. If he's not careful, he might let him slip away again. The pinnacle power of the primordial spirit 8th tribulation is extraordinary. Even under the oppressive force of the secret realm, his explosive speed was still incredibly astounding. In just a breath, he was like a fleeting shadow, arriving less than 100 feet in front of Lu Qing. However, facing Demon Tushan's astonishing speed, Lu Qing's expression remained unchanged. His gaze indifferent, he took a step back. His figure moved like a lightning bolt, not slower than Demon Tushan at all. What? Demon Tushan was shocked to see Lu Qing's speed matching his own. To know that this kid only revealed a 5 tribulation level aura, yet his speed could match his? Demon Tushan was unwilling to accept this, His aura surged, shaking once more. His speed suddenly increased dramatically, pressing towards Lu Qing. But as Demon Tushan's speed erupted, Lu Qing also accelerated abruptly. Even faster than Demon Tushan by a fraction, extending the distance once more.
Impossible.
Demon Tushan's eyes widened, unwilling to believe that despite exploding over 80% of his strength, he couldn't catch up with this 5 Tribulation Primordial Spirit kid. That kid's speed is actually on par with Tushan's senior brother? The other Black and White Temple disciples were equally astonished. They watched as the two figures chased each other across the vast square like two streams of light, unable to close the distance between them. Unbelievable that Tushan's senior brother, a primordial spirit pinnacle with 8 tribulations cultivation, couldn't catch up with a kid with only 5 tribulations cultivation. Who is that person who can sustain such a long pursuit under Demon Tushan's chase? On the other side, the disturbances attracted the attention of other forces who came out to check. They were similarly shocked seeing this scene. They immediately recognized one of the figures as Demon Tushan of the Black and White Temple, while the other figure, although not exuding a strong aura, had a speed that didn't fall short compared to Demon Tushan. Yu Jian's senior brother, it's that cultivator you saved earlier, Qing Xii of the Kongming sect said softly. It's him. I didn't expect that my intervention was unnecessary at the time. With such speed, even if I hadn't helped, Demon Tushan might not have been able to harm him. Yu Jian sighed lightly. But why could a mere 5 Tribulation Primordial Spirit release such speed in the secret realm? Qing Xii questioned. Knowing that the oppressive force within the secret realm is exceedingly terrifying, and the space is incomparably stable and stagnant. Even beings like an 8 Tribulation Primordial Spirit can't budge a bit. This limits their Taoist magical treasure's power and speed significantly. Logically, weaker primordial spirits should face greater oppression. Yet, the mysterious cultivator who was only a 5 Tribulation Primordial Spirit could explode with speed on par with Demon Tushan. Simply illogical. Yu Jian pondered for a moment and said, perhaps he carries some exotic treasure. Anyone daring enough to venture into the secret realm alone must have their reliance. Qing Xii thought and found it reasonable. If this mysterious cultivator relied on nothing, venturing the secret realm alone would be suicide. But in this situation, Demon Tushan may have to lose face now. Qing Xii suddenly laughed. Demon Path people naturally have no shame. Someone embarrassing him is good news. We better keep watch lest this fellow Taoist really falls into his hands. Yu Jian said indifferently. Yet he already called Lu Qing a fellow Taoist. Indeed, I perceive this fellow Taoist's aura as bright and grand, without a trace of evil, clearly one of us in the righteous. Qing Xii nodded slightly. She cultivates a Qi observation secret technique from the Kongming sect and can discern whether a cultivator's aura is righteous or evil. In Qing 12's eyes, the aura of Lu Qing ahead was pure and bright, without a trace of malice. Though his character remains unknown, the cultivation technique he practices is undoubtedly of the righteous path. What a strange boy! No wonder he dared to toy with so many of us before. On the other side, He Ming's eyes shone slightly as he watched the two being pursued. His interest in Lu Qing suddenly grew significantly. This person surely possesses an incredible exotic treasure. He Ming, why don't we try to snatch it? Peach Fairy's charming voice rang out in He Ming's mind. An exotic treasure, huh? That's quite tempting. He Ming stroked his chin, his heart stirred. To allow a 5 Tribulation Primordial Spirit to burst forth with speed equivalent to the peak of the 8 Tribulations under the suppression of the secret realm. Such an exotic treasure, if it fell into his hands, what kind of power might it wield? Thinking of this, He Ming's heart grew somewhat fervent. Given the conditions of the secret realm, possessing speed that exceeds its apex primordial spirit is a significant advantage. However, despite the heat of his heart, He Ming did not show it. He merely nodded slightly, saying faintly, "Let's wait and see. With so many powerful figures here, it's likely not just one person with such thoughts. Let's watch and wait." "I'll listen to He Ming," Peach Fairy transmitted sweetly. "Kid, Dare to toy with me? You're courting death. Among the onlooking powerful figures, each with different thoughts.
Tushan Roar de Sudenli.
At this moment, he had fully erupted with his speed, yet he still couldn't catch up with Lu Qing. In the process, he even attempted to use magical treasures and Taoist skills to capture Lu Qing. But under the suppression of the secret realm, the magical treasures and Taoist skills, greatly reduced in power, couldn't do anything to the other from over 100 yards away. By now, he realized the boy in front of him was deliberately toying with him, clearly able to escape directly, yet chose to hang just out of reach with that strange speed. Whenever he unleashed his strength, Lu Qing would slightly increase his speed, always staying ahead. Such blatant humiliation was unbearable for Tushan. As a direct lineage true disciple of the Black and White Temple, one of the strongest primordial spirits of the young generation, he had never suffered such humiliation. Immediately, a thick demonic qi emanated from him, enshrouding his entire body. An incredibly terrifying aura rose, giving a faint sense of space suppression, causing the faces of all powerful figures present to change. Under Lu Qing's continuous provocation, he was about to unleash his true trump card to completely obliterate this daring boy who toyed with him. Not good. Tushan is getting serious. Seeing this, Yu Jian's expression turned stern as a long sword appeared in his hand. Yet before he could take further action, Lu Qing, who had been silent all along, suddenly laughed. Heh. It seems you, little demon, finally figured it out, not entirely foolish. Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions suddenly froze. Faces showed disbelief, questioning if they heard wrong. This 5 tribulation primordial spirit actually dared to call the 8 tribulations peak Tushan a demon child and say he's foolish? Is this boy really not afraid of death? As for Tushan's gaze, it grew even icier. The demonic qi rolled towards Lu Qing, yet was easily evaded by him. Lu Qing continued, "All right, I've had enough fun toying with you. I won't play with you any longer. Hope next time we meet, you can behave and not bark like a mad dog at first sight." As Lu Qing's words fell, his speed suddenly increased, transforming into a stream of light. Like a dragonfly touching the water lightly, he quickly left Tushan behind with just a few steps. Then he rushed into a cluster of palaces, disappearing from sight. Tushan, who had just activated his trump card and was fuming with rage, was left stunned in place. For Lu Qing's speed was so fast that even after he used his trump card, there was no way to catch up. The other powerful figures were equally astonished. The burst of speed Lu Qing displayed at the end might not have stood out elsewhere. Any one of them could easily surpass it. But in this secret realm, such speed was astonishing, far surpassing their limits. What kind of exotic treasure does this boy possess? He Ming was also taken aback, feeling some regret in his heart. If he had known that the boy harbored such a mystical exotic treasure, he wouldn't have hesitated earlier but acted to seize it. Now that the boy had escaped with his cunning, who knows when he would show up again? As expected, Yu Jian, you guessed right. This fellow dared to enter the secret realm alone because he had something to rely on. Qing Xii couldn't help but say. She was also shocked by the speed Lu Qing showed at the end. But after she spoke, Yu Jian did not reply. She turned to see Yu Jian gazing in the direction Lu Qing left, somewhat lost in thought. Yu Jian, what's wrong? It's nothing. Yu Jian snapped back to reality, smiling. I just didn't expect that fellow's speed to be so astounding. Indeed, this time Tushan truly becomes a laughingstock. A dignified 8 tribulations peak primordial spirit, unable to deal with a mere 5 tribulations primordial spirit and even publicly insulted. If word gets out, it might become a joke throughout the starry sky. Even the Black and White Temple will be mocked as nothing special. Qing Xii laughed lightly. This time she wasn't transmitting with her divine soul but speaking directly. Her voice, neither too loud nor too soft, was just enough for almost all the powerful figures present to hear. Upon hearing Qing 12's words, many powerful figures stirred slightly. Their gazes towards Tushan turned somewhat meaningful. They knew Qing 12 wasn't wrong. If word spread, Tushan's reputation would be severely damaged, and even the Black and White Temple would be mocked. Humph, we're leaving.
Tushan face darkened.
Without saying much, he snorted coldly, then left with a group of disciples from the Black and White Temple. Even the severely injured figures on the ground were forgotten. Not bad, not bad. Didn't expect to see such a good show, really not bad. He Ming clapped his hands, laughing heartily, and left with the disciples of the Netherworld Palace. Once the show ended, the other forces also left one by one. They hadn't yet cracked all the restrictions in their halls. Felt battle outside and came to watch. Now the show was over, they resumed their tasks. Qing Xii. Was it necessary to provoke Tushan publicly? After all had left, Yu Jian sighed softly. Now, Tushan will hold a grudge. Demonic means dark, may retaliate in secret. Brother, we the righteous will always oppose demonic sects like the Black and White Temple, no fear. Even if Tushan doesn't find me, I'll test my sword against him. Qing Xii was confident. Yu Jian only sighed lightly. Knowing the conflict history of Kongming sect and Black and White Temple, Qing XII's grudge was well understood. Yet Qing Xii, though skilled, was slightly away from Eight Tribulations' perfection. He hoped they wouldn't clash now. Yet, at their level, confidence in one's strength was paramount. His advice might not get through to Qing Xii. He pondered keeping both sects together to avoid Kongming sect being ambushed. Suppressing these thoughts, Yu Jian approached the bloodied, injured figures on the ground. Yu Jian looked at the few heavily injured figures collapsed on the ground, recognized them after a moment of hesitation, then remembered. These people seemed to be powerhouses from a top force within the immortal domain, but originally there should have been a dozen of them. For some reason, only these few were left now. Yu Jian pondered for a moment before he took action to heal the injuries of those few people. And when those few regained consciousness, after some words of gratitude, Yu Jian finally understood what had just happened. It turned out that the people from this force were originally breaking restrictions in a large hall. Unexpectedly, disciples from the Black and White Temple, led by Mo Tushan, suddenly charged in. Although they had previously set up array defenses, they could not help but be caught off guard as the Black and White Temple people came suddenly, and their strength exceeded theirs by far. Mo Tushan also mastered an extremely powerful magical treasure, terrifying in power, practically impossible to resist. Caught unawares, the force to which these few belonged was almost annihilated in a short amount of time. Only these few managed to narrowly escape, and if it hadn't been for Lu Qing's sudden appearance capturing Mo Tushan's attention, they might not have been spared, forced to swallow their hatred here. Thank you, dear friends, for your rescue. This favor we shall remember for life. One of them, after their injuries improved a little, immediately expressed their gratitude. No worries, your primordial qi is heavily depleted. It's best you find a way to leave here soon. Yu Jian said indifferently. But the token of our clan, originally held by the elder, now that he has perished, the token must have fallen into Mo Tushan's hands. Without the token, just relying on us few, we cannot possibly break through the Star River formation outside. The person replied with a bitter face. The rest also wore faces full of bitterness. Without the token, leaving here would be a luxury. That's indeed a troublesome matter. Yu Jian thought for a moment and said, since that's the case, you should find a place to hide for now. When the day to leave comes, if it is convenient for us, we will take you with us. Thank you, friend Yu. Upon hearing this, the few rejoiced and quickly expressed their thanks. They knew that if Yu Jian was willing to take them, not even Mo Tushan would dare act rashly. And now, the most important thing for them was to ensure their safety before then. However, with the returning ruins' secret realm being so vast, as long as they strive to hide, Mo Tushan may not be able to easily find them. Watching the gradually retreating figures of the few, Yu Jian's brow furrowed slightly. Brother Yu Jian, what's wrong? Qing Xii asked. According to what these people said, Mo Tushan seems to have mastered an extremely powerful spiritual artifact. I wonder if it was given to him by the Black and White Temple or if he obtained it from the secret realm. But looking at Mo Tushan's actions, The secret realm is bound to be turbulent. Yu Jian said with a somewhat solemn expression. Are you saying Mo Tushan might continue to attack other forces? It's a possibility that cannot be ruled out. But after this incident, the other forces should also be more on guard, right? Regardless, we must be more cautious to avoid an ambush. I understand, brother. After the reminder, Yu Jian glanced towards the direction Lu Qing had previously left, a strange flicker in his eyes. When that 5 Tribulations cultivator left earlier, a peculiar surge of power erupted. Although very weak, perhaps undetectable to others, he could sense it. It was indeed heaven-breaking sword intent. This mysterious cultivator actually understood heaven-breaking sword intent. At once, many thoughts came to Yu Jian's mind. Black and White Temple, Sky-breaking sword sect, Kongming sect, Netherworld Palace, Pavilion of the Enchanting Immortal. While Yu Jian's mind was in turbulence, on the other side, Lu Qing, who had already entered a palace, now had a thoughtful expression. Earlier, the reason he deliberately toyed with Mo Tushan, always leading him by the nose, was naturally not due to any perverse pleasure. Only after confirming Mo Tushan's speed was inferior, and upon seeing other forces coming out to watch the show, did he deliberately delay time, utilizing his superpower to investigate the background of numerous powerhouses. With his current strength and enhanced superpower, investigating information on primordial spirit realm powerhouses no longer required much time but still took at least 1 or 2 breaths. Previously, without assurance of safety, he did not risk probing. This time, because numerous powerhouses gathered to watch, he took the opportunity to clarify some of the powerhouses' information. Mo Tushan, 8 Tribulations perfection of primordial spirit, holds several powerful spiritual artifacts, violent nature, fond of using virgin boys and girls to cultivate devil technique. Information about Mo Tushan flowed through Lu Qing's mind, his gaze gradually growing colder. As the one with the most hostility towards him, twice aiming to suppress him, Lu Qing naturally first probed Mo Tushan's information. Thus, when he uncovered Mo Tushan's background, killing intent slowly pervaded his heart. From the information probed with superpower, Mo Tushan could indeed be called an unequivocal evil demon. His inhumane nature, even among countless people he had encountered, could be considered at the forefront. He almost couldn't suppress the killing intent in his heart. Still, my strength is insufficient. Lu Qing shook his head. If it were not for insufficient strength, earlier he would have directly struck and killed Mo Tushan. Why bother merely humiliating him a little? Earlier, I intentionally released a trace of heaven-breaking sword intent. The senior brother of the sky-breaking sword sect should have perceived it. Lu Qing recalled the information he had previously probed on another person. The young man in white is actually the true master brother of the sky-breaking sword sect and an apex expert at the pinnacle of the primordial spirit 8th Tribulation. It seems that the heritage of Patian Taoist's lineage back then has indeed been passed down. It's just unknown where Patian Taoist is now and what realm he has reached. It was precisely because Lu Qing discovered the details of the young man in white that he deliberately revealed a faint trace of the heaven-breaking sword intent. This was to give the other party some mental preparation for communication when necessary. After all, in this returning ruin's secret realm, having more friends is always better than having more enemies. Although he has some means to protect his life now, he doesn't want to become a target for everyone. Of course, this step was just an idle move for Lu Qing. Given the current situation, he wouldn't actively approach the people of the sky-breaking sword sect. The speed he demonstrated earlier must have already attracted the attention of many strong experts. Perhaps now, countless experts are eager to extract this secret from him. So it's best to be cautious. No matter what you say, strength is fundamental. If I possessed enough strength, I naturally wouldn't need to be so cautious, advancing step by step. Therefore, the most urgent matter is still the enhancement of strength. Lu Qing's eyes shone with a bright light. After being discovered this time, it's almost impossible for him to quietly approach the dozens of large palaces to download inheritance. Now that things have reached this point, it's best to focus on improving one's strength. Just as well, during this period, he has obtained many treasures from various palaces. Among them, some are considered extremely valuable for him, capable of significantly enhancing his strength. In Lu Qing's hand appeared a jade bottle. This jade bottle was obtained from an elixir hall and contains a type of elixir called the Nourishing God Pill. This elixir can enhance the cultivation of the primordial spirit realm, containing an enormous amount of energy. Even for top-notch primordial spirits, it is considered an excellent cultivation elixir. And Lu Qing obtained a considerable quantity of the Nourishing God Pill from that elixir hall, perfectly usable for cultivation. With a thought, Lu Qing summoned Little Li. King. As soon as Little Li came out, it leaped towards Lu Qing. Since mastering some of the true meaning of the mystical restriction, for safety's sake, Lu Qing had let Little Li cultivate in the leaving fire tripod, and hadn't let it out for a while. Lu Qing caught Little Li's lunging body and rubbed its head. Little Li, I'm gonna cultivate in this hall for a while. Help me keep watch, and if you get bored, you can cultivate on the side. Though being in the palace and with restrictions protecting outside, outsiders cannot easily come in. However, for the sake of prudence, Lu Qing still let Little Li out to help as a protector. Okay. Little Li immediately agreed. Lu Qing then laid out a spirit-gathering array with the spirit stones. Curiously, despite the mystical nature of the returning ruins' secret realm, the spiritual energy within isn't overly abundant. At most, it compares to the spiritual energy levels of a certain great world. Hence, Lu Qing still needed to set up a spirit-gathering array to ensure his cultivation requirements were met. After arranging the array, Lu Qing sat cross-legged in the array eye and poured out a Nourishing God Pill from the jade bottle to ingest. With his activation, an enormous medicinal power exploded from the Nourishing God Pill. Lu Qing was unhurried, harnessing his mana to start refining that surge of medicinal power. Meanwhile, the spirit-gathering array also diffused an immensely dense spiritual charm, which surged towards his body. Observing Lu Qing entering a cultivation state, Little Li obediently lay in a corner and began absorbing that immense spiritual charm. However, it didn't completely meditate but split half of its heart and spirit to pay attention to external movements. After several days, Lu Qing opened his eyes, but they were filled with delight. He had fully refined the medicinal power of the Nourishing God Pill. One may say that it truly deserves its reputation as a spirit pill useful even to top-notch primordial spirits. Just one Nourishing God Pill had remarkably advanced his cultivation. It's important to note that Lu Qing's foundation is incredibly strong, far surpassing that of many peers by several times at the same level. As a result, every bit of cultivation progress requires him to consume enormous resources. Now, just one Nourishing God Pill improved his cultivation considerably, demonstrating the elixir's extraordinary quality. If I refine all the Nourishing God Pills, I might be able to cross 2 or 3 more tribulations. Lu Qing's eyes glowed with anticipation. He gained a lot of elixirs from that elixir hall. Elixirs suitable for the growth in cultivation of the primordial spirit realm alone are diverse, with the Nourishing God Pill being the most abundant. He reckoned that refining all the Nourishing God Pills in his possession might propel his cultivation to a highly elevated realm. It might even help cross 2 or 3 more rounds of primordial spirit tribulations. With this thought, Lu Qing immediately poured out another Nourishing God Pill to ingest and began refining it. Thus, as Lu Qing continued refining the elixirs, his cultivation advanced at an unprecedented speed. Since he could control the restriction veil, all auras were concealed by the restriction, preventing anyone from detecting his cultivation activities. A month later, Lu Qing's cultivation progressed from a single tribulation small success to the great success realm smoothly. Yet, Lu Qing continued cultivating, persistently consuming and refining Nourishing God Pills. For ordinary cultivators in the primordial spirit realm, it's not feasible to continuously refine Nourishing God Pills to enhance cultivation like Lu Qing. Merely the pill toxins accumulated from the Nourishing God Pill would be unbearable for them. But Lu Qing was different. With his incredibly strong foundation, he feared no pill toxin. One should know that his perfect primordial spirit technique integrates the undying heavenly witch body, the supreme technique within it. The undying heavenly witch body was created by an unparalleled existence of the witch clan, inspired by various tribulation beasts in the world. Cultivating it proficiently allows for the devouring of all energies. Even the heavenly tribulation power can be absorbed and transformed to one's own strength. Though Lu Qing has not yet reached the level where he can easily devour heavenly tribulations, mere pill toxins are naturally incapable of harming him. Moreover, he also has the Yin-Yang 5-element gourd, which allows him not only to absorb and refine pill toxins but also to convert them into cultivation power without wasting a bit. Another 2 months passed, and Lu Qing smoothly reached the perfect state of a single tribulation. He even sensed the tribulation chi faintly lingering ominously above his head. Without hesitation, after several days of preparation to put his state to its peak, Lu Qing directly used his heart and spirit to draw the tribulation chi. The next moment, the might of heaven descended into the great hall, as countless tribulation chi and death chi surged from within and outside his body, attempting to obliterate him entirely. Such commotion naturally caught Little Li's immediate attention. Little Li, who's been in a semi-meditative state, suddenly sensed an extraordinarily terrifying aura erupting beside it and immediately opened its eyes. Then it saw Lu Qing at the center of the hall being engulfed in countless tribulation chi and death chi. Is Qing crossing a tribulation again? Seeing this, Little Li was somewhat dumbstruck. The True Dragon 9 transformations it was cultivating is a profundity-laden ultimate technique, capable of cultivation to a perfect primordial spirit. Though Little Li is only at the Golden Core realm, it has some understanding of certain aspects of the primordial spirit realm. It immediately recognized that Qing was crossing the primordial spirit tribulation, because the heavenly might it senses now is almost identical to what it felt in the Jade Cave last time. It just hadn't expected that only a few years after the last tribulation, Lu Qing would begin crossing the second primordial spirit tribulation. Why is it that, with Qing's realm growing higher, his cultivation speed keeps increasing? Little Li found it difficult to understand. No matter how extraordinary Lu Qing's talent is, his cultivation speed repeatedly shocked it. Amidst Little Li's astonishment, the endless tribulation chi and death chi kept flowing, attempting to obliterate Lu Qing thoroughly. However, Lu Qing's foundational depth was simply too overwhelming. Even the tribulations derived from the Great Tao couldn't do anything to him. Finally, after several days, the infinite tribulation chi and death chi slowly receded. As the tribulation chi dispersed, the celestial might surrounding Lu Qing shifted again. Surging energy emerged from the void, pouring into Lu Qing's body, aiding his transformation. This was the reward from the Great Tao for those who succeeded in crossing the tribulation. The Great Tao is supreme, and not even the wonders of the returning ruin's secret realm can obstruct it. With the infusion of Tao energy, Lu Qing's transformation instantly became more fierce. Mana, power of the physical body, and primordial spirit power all soared at a jaw-dropping speed. After half a day, Lu Qing's transformation was finally complete. An extremely terrifying aura rose from him, causing Little Li, who was hiding in the corner, to feel waves of fear. Fortunately, this aura was fleeting. As soon as it appeared, Lu Qing restrained it again. As the aura receded, Lu Qing also opened his eyes. Qing. Little Li came before Lu Qing, staring at him with wide eyes. Did you break through again? Yes. I just crossed the second primordial spirit tribulation. Lu Qing nodded. Can you beat those people outside now? I fear not. Lu Qing rubbed Little Li's fur. The weakest of the outside strong are 5 tribulation primordial spirits. Like that great Han in the black and white Taoist robe who harbors deep hostility towards us is an 8 tribulations primordial spirit of supreme strength. We can't contend with them yet. 8 tribulations primordial spirit. Little Li's eyes widened even more. Indeed, so among the various forces entering to explore the secret realm this time, we are the weakest. We must be more cautious, prioritizing safety. Lu Qing nodded. Truthfully, Lu Qing suspected that an 8 tribulations primordial spirit might not even be the final trump card of these forces. He wouldn't be surprised if a 9 tribulations primordial spirit emerges at any time. Just as he concealed little Li within the leaving fire tripod, perhaps other forces have similar tactics. It's just that this secret realm does not allow the presence of beings above primordial spirit. Otherwise, Lu Qing suspected these powerful forces would have sent even more terrifying entities in by now. Yes, then we must be careful to hide. Little Li listened to Lu Qing's words and nodded quickly. An 8 tribulations primordial spirit is truly an existence it can only look up to. Perhaps even a single breath could obliterate it. So, it's better for them to stay far away. But there's no need to worry too much. We have restrictions guarding us in the palace. Even the most intense primordial spirit struggles to enter, so we are quite safe. Seeing the little one's fearful look, Lu Qing laughed again, comforting him. After chatting with little Li for a while, Lu Qing prepared to cultivate again. The second primordial spirit tribulation wasn't his goal. It couldn't truly withstand the external strong. Currently, he still has plenty of nourishing God pill in his hand, and by complementing it with several other elixirs that enhance cultivation, it's just right for his cultivation to go further. If he can reach the third tribulation or even the fourth tribulation, coupled with the special environment of the returning ruined secret realm and his advantage of mastering a trace of the power of restriction within the realm, by then, he would truly possess the strength to compete against a formidable entity like Mo Tushan's 8 tribulations primordial spirit. As Lu Qing once again entered the cultivation state, the hall fell into tranquility. Little Li continued to lay in the corner, silently vigilant. But elsewhere in the secret realm, things were far from calm. Boom! In one hall, a loud vibration exploded, an immense might burst forth. Mo Tushan used just one strike to repel more than 10 primordial spirits ahead. Then he began to walk forward step by step, surrounded by demonic qi. I'll say it again. If you don't want to die, hand over the treasures you've obtained, or else you won't leave here alive. Mo Tushan, looking at the crowd before him as they faced him like a great enemy, spoke indifferently. Mo Tushan, do you honestly intend to be so domineering? The treasures we painstakingly broke through restrictions to obtain, why should we give them to you? An old man in luxurious attire opposite retorted with an angry expression. Simply because I am stronger than you. Mo Tushan remarked calmly. The weak are prey to the strong. Since I am stronger, I should claim all the treasures. You can resist, but if you do, don't hold me accountable for exterminating you. You think you're invincible in this secret realm. I don't believe, being both 8 tribulations primordial spirits, you're that much stronger. The old man shouted coldly. Good. It seems you plan to resist. That suits me just fine. Seeing this, Mo Tushan did not get angry. Instead, he grinned. Earlier, when I captured that 5 tribulation kid, you, old man, seemed very pleased, right? I want to see if you can still laugh later. With that, the terrifying aura from Mo Tushan's body surged, and a black 9-layered tower's phantom appeared behind him. The terrifying aura instantly changed the expressions of the primordial spirits opposite. The old man in luxurious attire stared at the phantom of the black tower, showing disbelief.
Impossible, your aura.
All of you die. Without waiting for his words to finish, Mo Tushan shouted loudly and struck with his palm. The surging demonic qi instantly engulfed everyone opposite. After a while, as Mo Tushan left with the disciples of the Black and White Temple, that hall was already dead silent. After some time, when Yu Jian and Qing Xii arrived with their fellow disciples, they only saw dried corpses strewn across the hall and strands of lingering demonic qi. It's the people from the Luoyun sect of the Great Yu Immortal Domain. Yu Jian saw the emblem on the clothing of the desiccated corpse on the ground and immediately recognized their identity. The aura of this demonic qi, it should be the work of those from the Black and White Temple, Qing Xii also said. The person leading Luoyun sect this time is a supreme elder within their sect, also possessing the cultivation of the 8 tribulations of primordial spirit, and yet died so easily. Since when has Demon Slaughter Mountain acquired such strength? Yu Jian squatted before the corpse of the elderly man in extravagant clothes, observing his shriveled head still emitting black smoke, filled with confusion. Could it be that Demon Slaughter Mountain has made a breakthrough, stepping into the realm of 9 tribulations? Qing 12's heart stirred. It's unlikely. Yu Jian shook his head. With his arrogance, if he had truly broken through to 9 tribulations, he would have already come over to find trouble with us, rather than targeting the people of Luoyun's sect. Then perhaps he has obtained a powerful magical treasure, allowing his strength to soar significantly. Previously, those from Immortal Domain mentioned that Demon Slaughter Mountain defeated them using a fearsome demon treasure. Qing Xii continued to speculate. That very well could be the case. Yu Jian nodded slightly. Whether this demon treasure was given to him by the Black and White Temple, or he obtained it from this secret realm, remains unknown. Regardless of how it was obtained, Demon Slaughter Mountain must have his own purpose in doing this, and it may not be merely for seizing treasures. Brother Yu Jian, how should we respond? Yu Jian thought for a moment, then said, There are still a few years until the opening of the Immortal Palace, yet Demon Slaughter Mountain is restless, surely with some unspeakable purpose. We must find a way to uncover it. Brother's intention is simple. A fight with him will reveal everything. Yu Jian chuckled. When Demon Slaughter Mountain tried to capture that 5 Tribulations cultivator earlier, he was so enraged yet did not use the treasure. Clearly, he still doesn't wish to fully expose this trump card to others. Since that's the case, we'll just fight him once to see what exactly this demon treasure is. About to make a move against the Black and White Temple. Yes, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Qing Xii, upon hearing, immediately felt invigorated. She was never afraid of people like Demon Slaughter Mountain, and now with the alliance of 2 sects, there was no reason for hesitation. However, this must be carefully planned out, strike at the weakest point. If we decide to act, we must ensure they are severely hurt, and even if we can't kill Demon Slaughter Mountain, we must find a way to weaken the Black and White Temple's strength. Yu Jian said with a cold gaze. He was resolute and decisive. Once he decided to act, it would be with thunderous means. I'll follow brother's lead, Qing 12 immediately said. In the time that followed, Yu Jian and the others began to secretly search for people from the Black and White Temple within the secret realm. Yet strangely, the other party seemed to have guessed their thoughts. After slaughtering the people from Luoyun's sect, they retreated into a large palace, never coming out again. Even when Yu Jian took people to provoke them with insults, the people from the Black and White Temple still hold themselves up inside. They uncharacteristically refrained from responding, and no one even came out to respond. Only a terrifying demonic qi, akin to an ancient behemoth, lurked inside, seemingly waiting for them to enter, to devour everyone whole. The fearsome aura of the demonic qi made even Yu Jian and Qing Xii, cultivators with 8 tribulations of primordial spirit, feel a stab of anxiety. Such strange circumstances caused a flicker of unease in Yu Jian's heart. But with an unclear situation, he dared not lead people into that palace recklessly. After all, due to the restrictions light screen, the opening was only wide enough for 1 or 2 people to pass through simultaneously. If the opponent had set an ambush inside, his people might not be able to fully enter before being caught like turtles in a jar. So although there were 2 8 tribulations of primordial spirit on their side, Yu Jian ultimately chose not to take the risk. He remembered that the Sword Master said, "Opportunity is important, but preserving oneself is most important." Since he brought his fellow cultivators into the secret realm, he naturally wanted to ensure their safety as much as possible. After careful consideration, Yu Jian finally led his group to retreat. According to the records left in the Jade Scroll by the ancestors, there are only a few years left before the opening of the Immortal Palace. Once the Immortal Palace opens, people from the Black and White Temple will surely emerge. By then, they will naturally know what Demon Slaughter Mountain is plotting. With the retreat of Yu Jian and the others, the secret realm returned to tranquility. However, the news of the Luoyun sect's complete annihilation by the Black and White Temple soon spread quickly. Shortly afterward, all forces within the returning ruins secret realm learned of the incident. This caused many weaker forces compared to the Black and White Temple to become tense, preparing defenses in fear of being targeted by Demon Slaughter Mountain. Some forces even directly approached Yu Jian's group, expressing a desire to form an alliance. To this, Yu Jian naturally did not agree. He knew very well that none of these forces were easy to deal with, each one cunning, openly proposing an alliance but actually wanting to use them as pawns, perhaps. Seeing Yu Jian unwilling to team up, those weaker forces devised other strategies. They decided to camp outside the Grand Hall where Yu Jian and the others resided. If the people from the Black and White Temple attacked them, Yu Jian's side wouldn't sit idly by. Though Yu Jian found their approach somewhat speechless, he still implicitly permitted it. On the contrary, if Demon Slaughter Mountain dared to come over, it would be exactly as he wished. However, to everyone's surprise, despite the commotion outside, the Black and White Temple remained unresponsive. After massacring those from Luoyun's sect, they seemed to have calmed down, merely lurking in that grand hall, never showing up again. Only the faint, terrifying aura of demonic qi continued brewing within. Thus, under a strangely mysterious atmosphere, several years passed within the secret realm. Bang! On this day, in a remote palace at the fringe of the Immortal Palace's outer area, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted, yet was quickly concealed by a wave, going unnoticed by others. Clan leader, have you accomplished a great success? Inside the remote palace, an elder spoke excitedly. Indeed, I have completely consolidated my cultivation at the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit. Now, within the returning ruins secret realm, no one will be my match. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe nodded proudly, his eyes full of confidence. Upon hearing this, the other great immortal clan powerhouses maintaining the array also showed signs of excitement on their faces. The clan leader's consolidation of the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit not only greatly enhances their grasp in seizing opportunities within the returning ruins secret realm, but when returning, can stabilize the situation and restore the immortal clan's glory. Of course, clan leader, you are a 9 tribulations of primordial spirit. Even the direct lineages of the several major sects would not be a match for you. The elder repeatedly echoed, his excitement impossible to suppress. These words naturally pleased the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe. He quickly returned to a composed state, asking, "By the way, in the years I've been in seclusion, has anything happened outside?" In recent years, indeed, some incidents have occurred in the secret realm. The elder listened and promptly recounted recent events within the secret realm. Though most of them were maintaining the big array and helping the clan leader conceal his aura in these years, they were not completely ignorant of all matters within the secret realm. They still sent clan members out to explore through certain connections. You're saying the people from the Black and White Temple made several moves, wiped out 2 forces, and then hid away? The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe, after hearing the elder's account, showed a glimmer of thought. Exactly, now many forces believe that Demon Slaughter Mountain is probably cultivating some secret technique, and upon his emergence, he might become even stronger, possibly stepping into the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit, the elder said. Humph, the 9th tribulation is by no means easy to surpass. Whatever Demon Slaughter Mountain plans, when he appears, I shall suppress him. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe sneered coldly. What's happening? The unexpected tremor shocked the elder and others. It's known that the space of the returning ruined secret realm is incredibly stable. Even those in the primordial spirit realm cannot fly here. Now, the entire secret realm is trembling. What kind of commotion could it be? Only the man in the purple dragon robe sensed the commotion and showed delight, because he knew from the records left by the ancestors what this meant. There's no need for panic. This is the preparation for the Immortal Palace to open. The Immortal Palace is about to open? The other clan members, hearing this, also turned their shock into joy. Correct. According to the ancestral records, about 10 years after the returning ruins secret realm appears, the Immortal Palace will open, giving everyone inside the secret realm an opportunity to enter. Now, counting the time, it has been about 10 years since we entered. The man in the purple dragon robe nodded. The clan leader has just emerged from seclusion, stabilizing the 9 tribulations cultivation, and now the immortal palace is going to open. This seems to be a good omen for the resurgence of our clan. The elder's beard trembled, filled with excitement. Such a good omen. The man in the purple dragon robe laughed heartily. Since it's an omen, we should not delay. Let's proceed. He then took a step forward, leading the way out. Other great power strongmen of the immortal clan also dismantled their arrays, following him with eagerness. Strongmen from other forces were equally thrilled. Is this disturbance the signal for the immortal palace to finally open? Calculating the time, it is indeed time for it to open. Finally, it opens. Ancestors could not break through the barriers and enter the true immortal palace back then. This time, we have prepared for so many years. Surely we'll break the obstacle and complete the ancestors' regrets. Feeling the tremor inside the secret realm, other forces' strongmen displayed joy. They all left their station palaces, gazing toward the immortal palace's direction. The immortal palace was now radiating light, waves of grandeur sweeping over the entire secret realm. Yu Jian, senior brother. The immortal palace is about to open. Qing Xii stood before their palace, looking toward the immortal palace direction, expression solemn. The real trial is now coming. Yu Jian also had a solemn look. Formerly breaking prohibitions and obtaining treasures in the palace were merely appetizers. Therefore, various forces were able to maintain a semblance of peace. Only Mo Tushan of the Black and White Temple shattered this conciliation, obliterating 2 forces. The real show is yet to come after the immortal palace opens. By then, various forces will tear off the peaceful facade. Once a major treasure is found, a real battle might erupt. According to the Jade Scroll left by the Grandmaster, after the immortal palace opens, it's not possible to enter immediately. Tests must be passed before gradually venturing inside. Years ago, several Grandmasters were exceptionally stunning, yet they only passed 5 tests, failing to enter the true immortal palace. Details from the Jade Scroll passed down by the Sword Master floated in Yu Jian's mind. He realized that the immortal palace opening does not mean to ensure entry. But whether they can enter is less significant. The critical part is ensuring Mo Tushan doesn't enter smoothly. As long as the evil path forces like Black and White Temple and Netherworld Palace don't obtain any opportunities inside the immortal palace, the outer situation can still be maintained. This is an outcome the Skybreaking Sword Sect can accept. Yu Jian, senior brother, the immortal palace is about to open. Likely Mo Tushan will not continue seclusion in the palace. Do we still take action later? Qing Xii suddenly asked. No need. Yu Jian pondered for a moment, then shook his head. Later, when various forces gather, taking action against the Black and White Temple would only fall into others' traps. Don't forget the Netherworld Palace and Pavilion of the Enchanting Immortal. These 2 forces cannot be ignored either. If we clash with the Black and White Temple, they might rejoice in secret, or even harm us from behind. Qing Xii also saw this point inside. Then we must let Mo Tushan off for now. Inside a certain palace, demonic qi swirled, enveloping the whole hall. Suddenly, all demonic qi started to fluctuate, quickly converging toward the center. Soon, it all absorbed into a black 9-tier treasure tower floating in mid-air, revealing a group of disciples from the Black and White Temple. Sitting at the center with closed eyes, Mo Tushan abruptly opened them, summoning the Black Tower into his hand with a gesture. After sensing the situation inside the tower, he showed delight. Excellent, all of Luoyun Sect's essence blood has been completely refined, and the power of 9 Abyss Demon Tower has accumulated to a peak. Now, neither that Yu Jian nor He Ming will be my match. Mo Tushan felt extremely satisfied and proud. If he hadn't acted decisively back then, destroying 2 forces and absorbing their essence blood, how could he have fully refined this treasure in such a short time and restored its power to a peak state? With this magical treasure at hand, even against the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit great power, he is confident in a fight. Along with other trump cards in his control, regardless of Yu Jian, Qing Xii, or He Ming, Mo Tushan is assured of crushing them thoroughly. Senior Brother Tushan, is this tremor indicating the immortal palace is about to open? At this moment, a black and white temple disciple inquired. Correct, according to the ancestral words, 10 years after the returning ruins' secret realm materializes, the immortal palace will automatically open, and now is precisely that moment. Mo Tushan's mind moved as he put away the black tower, then proceeded to walk out. Let's go. Earlier, Yu Jian and the others were outside, challenging us and insulting the black and white temple. Because I had to control this 9 Abyss Demon Tower, I didn't have time to deal with their barking. Once we enter the immortal palace, it will be their time to die. I swear I will refine them all, making them the nourishment for this demon tower of mine. Why hasn't Ah Qing awakened with such commotion? On the other side, inside the grand hall where Lu Qing was, Little Li had already stood up, eyes filled with anxiety. The quake of the immortal palace was so significant that it naturally drew attention early on. Unaware of what was happening, Little Li immediately panicked. But what worried him even more was that amid such a great tremor, Lu Qing remained quietly sitting cross-legged in the center of the hall, eyes closed in cultivation, showing no signs of waking. This made Little Li both anxious and unsure of what to do. Fortunately, after a while, he finally saw Lu Qing slowly open his eyes. I finally stabilized the 4th tribulation realm. Lu Qing felt the surging power inside himself, eyes filled with emotion. At the same time, he marveled at his luck. If he hadn't discovered that elixir hall, acquiring a considerable amount of nourishing god pills, how could he have broken through multiple realms in such a short time and stepped into the 4th tribulation realm? Indeed, after years of secluded cultivation, continuously refining nourishing god pills and other elixirs that increase cultivation at the primordial spirit level. Not long ago, Lu Qing successfully passed through the 4th primordial spirit tribulation, officially stepping into the primordial spirit 4th tribulation. After more than a month of accumulation, he had now completely solidified his 4th tribulation cultivation, fully grasping the explosively increased power following the breakthrough. However, with this, he had also exhausted the cultivation resources he had harvested from the outer palace. Although he had obtained many other treasures, they were of no practical use in increasing his strength. Of course, Lu Qing was still extremely satisfied with this. After all, if he were to cultivate on his own, even with enough spirit stones, it would take at least several decades to step into the primordial spirit 4th tribulation. Now, not only has the time of cultivation been significantly reduced, but he also saved a large amount of spirit stones. How could he not be satisfied? Ah Qing! Little Li rushed over as soon as he saw Lu Qing waking up. The whole secret realm has suddenly started shaking. Is the secret realm going to close? I'm not sure either. Lu Qing shook his head. We will know once we go out and take a look. Lu Qing had naturally sensed the fluctuations of the secret realm. But as he said, he was indeed unclear about the source of this fluctuation. Perhaps only by going outside to investigate will he find out the reason. Fortunately, his strength had greatly increased now. Even if he encounters Mo Tushan again, he won't have to fear anymore. He truly had enough confidence to face other forces directly. Are we really going out? Little Li's face became somewhat apprehensive upon hearing it. He had indeed heard from Lu Qing that among the strong ones outside, none were easy to deal with, especially those like the 8 tribulations primordial spirit. Thinking that they might encounter such powerful beings was unsettling for him. Don't worry. Lu Qing patted the little guy's head, comforting him. Enter the leaving fire tripod later. I'll have Yen lift some restrictions so you can sense the outside situation. Okay. But Ah Qing, be careful. Little Li advised. He knew that with his strength, staying outside would only distract Lu Qing. Rest assured, the current me won't necessarily fear them anymore. Lu Qing smiled. Only then did Little Li recall that, over the past few years, he had witnessed Lu Qing survive 2 more primordial spirit tribulations, and now he's at the primordial spirit 4th tribulation realm, feeling much more at ease. He knew Lu Qing's foundation was extremely robust. Every breakthrough led to a massive surge in strength. Remembering how he could escape from an 8 tribulations primordial spirit during his first tribulation, now with greatly enhanced strength, he would surely be more confident in ensuring his safety. Yen, open some restrictions so little Li can see the situation outside. After bringing little Li into the leaving fire tripod, Lu Qing instructed. Previously, when he kept little Li, he completely sealed the leaving fire tripod. He did this to avoid any potential harm from the powers permeating it during battles. However, the current him has enough confidence to prevent such a situation. Mo Tushan, next time we meet, I'll give you a big surprise. Lu Qing murmured to himself as he gazed ahead. Then, with a step, he disappeared from the grand hall. Is this disturbance caused by that vast immortal palace? Outside the barrier of restrictions, only then did Lu Qing discover that the cause of the secret realm's trembling was the vast immortal palace situated at the very center of the secret realm. At this moment, the immortal palace radiated glows, emitting immense power that caused the entire secret realm to shake. Lu Qing stared at the immortal palace, activating his superpower, intending to see if he could discover any information. When he had first entered the secret realm, he had attempted it, but perhaps due to insufficient realm, he couldn't gather any useful information from the immortal palace. Now, having surpassed 3 layers of the primordial spirit tribulation and stepped into the primordial spirit fourth tribulation, with his strength greatly increased, he wondered if it might be different. Yet Lu Qing was proved wrong. After watching for a while, the immortal palace remained unchanged, not divulging any information. Just as he wanted to continue probing, he witnessed the immortal palace's brilliance suddenly surge, becoming exceptionally dazzling. Even with Lu Qing's current strength, he couldn't help but instinctively close his eyes. Upon reopening them, he discovered that the immortal palace's glows had subsided, returning to its usual state. It seemed that what he had sensed earlier was just an illusion. However, Lu Qing knew it couldn't have been an illusion. The immortal palace must have undergone some change. Unfortunately, he knew too little to determine what exactly had changed. What he was certain of was that this was definitely not the secret realm preparing to close, but something of greater importance. It seems I still need to go over and take a look to determine what exactly happened. Lu Qing pondered briefly, then without hesitation, transformed into a wisp of smoke and headed toward the immortal palace. His understanding of the returning ruined secret realm was still too limited. When changes occur, he cannot ascertain the reasons. Previously, due to strength reasons, he didn't want to interact with other forces. But now, he could slightly change his approach. Perhaps the idle move he laid could come in handy. Back when Lu Qing was just at the primordial spirit first tribulation, his speed was already faster than Mo Tushan. With the strength greatly enhanced, his speed would naturally be more terrifying. Even if he wasn't using his full strength, he still swiftly traversed vast palaces. However, as he passed by those dozens of largest palaces, Lu Qing suddenly stopped. Because he discovered there was no more aura in these palaces. They had been vacated and completely abandoned by all forces. Have they all gone toward the immortal palace? Lu Qing speculated in his heart. He wasn't sure, but this was evidently good news for him. Previously, because those forces were present, he couldn't download the inheritance from the restrictions of these dozens of palaces. Now that those strong individuals had left, it was a perfect opportunity. Without hesitation, Lu Qing immediately changed his plan, deciding not to head straight to the immortal palace for the moment. Turning himself, he arrived in front of one of the massive palaces, activated his superpower, and began downloading the inheritance. After all, with his current understanding of the Shenyuan restriction, even downloading all restrictions from these dozens of massive palaces wouldn't take much time. As for the immortal palace, given that he was already a step later than others, wasting a bit more time wasn't significant. Additionally, he believed that within such a short period, those forces, even if they entered, wouldn't likely achieve significant gains. After all, seizing treasures from even the outer palaces took considerable effort. The treasures inside the immortal palace must be even harder to obtain. While Lu Qing weaved through major palaces, downloading the inheritance, he was unaware that outside the immortal palace, the air was tense, ready to erupt. Mo Tushan, what do you mean by this? In front of the immortal palace, Yu Jian asked indifferently. Qing Xii stood beside him, while the disciples of the Sky-Breaking Sword Sect and Kongming Sect were poised behind him. At this moment, Mo Tushan was leading the disciples of the Black and White Temple, blocking their way. As for other forces, they kept their distance, watching with various intentions without any sign of interference. In their view, it would be better if these major sects truly fought each other, for fewer competitors would remain. No particular reason. Back then you barked happily outside my closed-door cultivation palace. I was cultivating my divine skill and had no time to deal with you. Now it's time to settle this score. Mo Tushan stood there lazily, seemingly unconcerned. Interesting. You hid like a turtle in that palace, afraid to come out, and now you dare to provoke us. It seems you have successfully refined your demon treasure, hence your confidence. Qing Xii said coldly. Her words made Mo Tushan's eyes narrow slightly. He thought carefully and suddenly understood where the problem lay. That day, he was affected in heart and spirit by that Five Tribulations kid and forgot to silence those severely injured primordial spirit realm individuals. It must have been Yu Jian and the others who learned about the situation from them. Though annoyed, Mo Tushan's expression remained unchanged. With a cold smile, "Enough talk. Since you dared to insult the Black and White Temple, have you thought about how you want to die?" With that, a terrifying aura rose from Mo Tushan. "I'm not afraid of you," Qing Xii shouted coldly, as a fierce sword intent surged from her as well. The two auras collided, creating a wave that made other strong individuals' eyelids twitch. Are they really going to fight? Seeing this, the other observing forces were taken aback. They thought these sects were only facing off as a formality, but now it seemed they were truly about to clash. It must be noted that the Immortal Palace is about to open, presenting a great opportunity for exploration. What surprised them even more was Mo Tushan daring to single-handedly oppose two major sects like the Sky-Breaking Sword Sect and Kongming Sect. Where does his confidence come from? Is it really the demon treasure that Qing Xii just mentioned? However, after recovering from the shock, everyone began to anticipate. As mentioned, whether it's the Black and White Temple or the Sky-Breaking Sword Sect and Kongming Sect, their combined strength is immense. If these major sects truly fought, no matter the outcome, they would inevitably weaken each other's strength. That would be beneficial for them. Clan leader, what should we do? From a distant edge position, the elder transmitted his voice, asking. Watch and see. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe said calmly. It's a good chance to see what cards these major sects hold. If previously, the man in the purple dragon robe might have been anxious, fearing collateral damage, but having reached the 9 tribulations of primordial spirit, he's now extremely confident in his strength. His mindset completely changed, watching with the attitude of a spectator. Because he knows, no matter how fiercely these major sects fight, the ultimate winner will inevitably be him. Still, he's curious about what gives Mo Tushan the confidence to challenge 2 8 tribulations primordial spirits equal to himself. Oh, you plan to determine victory here before the Immortal Palace even opens? As the battle was about to erupt, a teasing voice suddenly rang out. Everyone turned to see He Ming and Peach Fairy walking side by side. Behind them were disciples from the Netherworld Palace and Pavilion of the Enchanting Immortal. Clearly, these two sects have also formed an alliance. The arrival of He Ming and the others suddenly froze the initially tense atmosphere. Especially when Mo Tushan saw He Ming and Peach Fairy approaching together. His eyes narrowed, his gaze suddenly growing deeper. He said coldly, What, He Ming, is your Netherworld Palace planning to step in as well? Naturally, He Ming unhesitatingly replied. I've been helped by brother Yu Jian, so I must assist him. Then He Ming looked at Yu Jian and said, Brother Yu Jian, I have a proposal. Why not our few factions join forces and kill these Black and White Temple brats first? How about it? These words shocked the disciples of the Black and White Temple. If the 4 factions on the other side join forces, it would be the worst news for them. Even if Brother Tushan has mastered the ultimate treasure, it may be difficult to resist. Even Mo Tushan's surging demonic chi trembled slightly, causing him to look towards Yu Jian. But unexpectedly, Yu Jian shook his head. Our sky-breaking sword sect will never cooperate with evil path forces. Forget about it. Indeed, we in the Kongming sect also don't trust you evil demons. Who knows what scheme you might have? Qing Xii said coldly. Ha. It was at this moment that Mo Tushan felt slightly relieved, and then laughed heartily. Brother He Ming, I've said it before, why waste your warm face on these so-called righteous sects' cold rear? I've got a suggestion. Why not we three sects unite and eliminate the sky-breaking sword sect and Kongming sect? Your black and white temple is always unpredictable. I don't trust you. He Ming equally shook his head. Moreover, I've said, because Brother Yu Jian has been kind to me, I won't act against him. Mo Tushan then looked at Peach Fairy. Unexpectedly, this charming beauty only smiled enchantingly. I shall follow Brother He Ming. This scene further chilled Mo Tushan's gaze. However, he quickly restrained himself and smiled. It seems this battle won't happen now, so we'll settle this account later. Yu Jian, Qing Xii, next time we meet, you won't be so lucky. Next time, I will surely cut you down with my sword. Qing Xii responded defiantly. Seeing this, many faces from other factions showed signs of disappointment. They realized the anticipated battle would not occur. But soon, they had no time to concern themselves with this matter. Because suddenly, the immortal palace shook once more, emitting dazzling light, making everyone's vision turn blank. Even their primordial spirit sense was blank and couldn't perceive anything. Fortunately, since a similar event happened earlier, they weren't flustered. They just kept their guard up silently, patiently waiting in place. Soon, the light receded, and when all the strong individuals regained their sight, they found significant changes ahead. The vast walls that spanned before them suddenly transformed into multiple giant gates. Each gate bore a spatial vortex. Above the vortex, many words floated. Among them were physical body, elixir, talisman, array, sword Tao, mana, divine soul, law, and so on, a total of 8 gates. Upon seeing such changes, although surprised, the strong individuals weren't too shocked, because they knew from the records left by their ancestors or founding masters about the changes when the Immortal Palace opens. It is said that when the Immortal Palace opens, 8 gates appear, each corresponding to a path of immortal Tao. Each gate is filled with numerous trials. By overcoming those trials, one can receive rewards from the Immortal Palace. If one can traverse the entire gate, they can truly enter the Immortal Palace and accept the great inheritance within. Unfortunately, according to records, the returning ruin's secret realm has opened twice, but no one has ever cleared any gate and truly entered the Immortal Palace. Just as the records left by the founding master indicated, there are indeed 8 gates. Mo Tushan looked at the revealed 8 spatial vortexes, understanding in his heart. Without hesitation, he directly led the disciples of the Black and White Temple towards the vortex marked by physical body. Seeing Mo Tushan and others vanish within the spatial vortex, Yu Jian and others were somewhat surprised. They did not expect Mo Tushan and others to choose the gate representing physical body. One must know that although the Black and White Temple's cultivation method is of the demon path, the cultivated physical body is quite formidable. But it also has distinct advantages in other aspects. Unexpectedly, they ultimately chose the gate representing the path of the body. Brother Yu Jian, which gate will you choose? He Ming asked. Yu Jian did not answer but looked at Qing Xii. Junior sister Qing Xii, which gate will you choose? Naturally, it's Sword Tao. Qing 12 smiled slightly. Most of the disciples we brought from Kongming sect this time are skilled in Sword Tao. There's no other choice. Then that's perfect. We can support each other a bit. Yu Jian nodded. If Kongming sect had other choices, their sky-breaking sword sect had only Sword Tao to choose from. At once, the disciples of sky-breaking sword sect and Kongming sect headed toward the Sword Tao gate. As expected, they chose Sword Tao. He Ming showed no surprise, shook his head, and looked at Peach Fairy. Fairy, what about you? Which gate does your pavilion of the enchanting immortal plan to take? Peach Fairy laughed charmingly. Our pavilion of the enchanting immortal has some insights in the path of divine soul. Then it seems we'll have to temporarily part ways. Ming smiled. That's not necessarily so. Rumor has it that these 8 gates aren't completely isolated. At certain junctures, they will intersect. At that time, Brother Ming, please be merciful and don't harm me, Peach Fairy teased. Of course, we've sworn with our primordial spirit. Ming turned and headed forward, but his choice of gate surprised everyone, because he actually headed toward the gate of law. He actually chose the path of laws? Is Ming skilled in the path of laws? Even for an 8 tribulations primordial spirit, shouldn't there be few laws they can comprehend? No wonder he's the young palace master of the Netherworld Palace. The group of strong individuals saw Ming's choice and immediately began to discuss. Even Peach Fairy saw this, her eyes flickered slightly. He chose law. According to the records left by the founding master, that is the most obscure and difficult gate to navigate. Ming is so confident. Peach Fairy watched Ming lead the disciples of the Netherworld Palace and disappear into the spatial vortex. After standing in place for a while, she then led the disciples of Pavilion of the Enchanting Immortal toward the gate representing Divine Soul. Soon, the figures of Pavilion of the Enchanting Immortal disciples also vanished within the spatial vortex. Only then did the other factions begin to take action, starting to choose the gates they wished to enter. They couldn't help it. The 5 major sects were too dominant. Although they had their own trump cards, they didn't want to provoke them. Soon, the other factions selected their respective gates, disappearing into the spatial vortex. Most of their strength deliberately avoided the gates chosen by the 5 major sects. Although according to the ancestors' records, within the gate, except for specific junctures, most areas do not permit combat. Even if they enter, as long as they don't enter those junctures, they won't be attacked. But most strong individuals still wanted to avoid the 5 major sects. Before long, all remaining factions outside had basically entered the gates. Until then, the middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe lingering at the back finally led his clan slowly forward. Looking up at the 8 giant gates ahead, he seemed thoughtful. The previous conflicts among the 5 major sects were clearly in his view. They understood that these major sects also guarded against each other, holding ulterior motives. But this was just what he hoped for. As long as these major sects fight more fiercely, their immortal clan will have enough time to rise again. If they maintain peace and a stable situation, that would be the worst news for him. Clan leader, which gate should we choose? The elder asked. Naturally, we choose the path of mana. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe had long made up his mind. Indeed, clan leader, now that you are a 9 tribulations primordial spirit, your mana is vast, unrivaled by any strong individual in the secret realm. Choosing mana is the best option. The elder immediately praised. Let's go. This time the fortune in the immortal palace is ours to seize. The middle-aged man in the purple dragon robe led his clan toward the gate representing the path of mana. After the grand immortal clan entered the spatial vortex, a while later, several figures sneakily approached and then chose a gate, rushing in. If Yu Jian and others saw this, they would realize these were the primordial spirit realm individuals he had advised to hide well. After these primordial spirit realm individuals also entered the spatial vortex, the outside of the immortal palace once again returned to tranquility. Only the spatial vortices on the 8 giant gates continued to spin quietly. After a long time, a figure stealthily approached, and who else could it be but Lu Qing? What's happening here? Lu Qing looked at the empty surroundings of the immortal palace and the 8 spinning spatial vortices, along with the ancient characters above, in astonishment. He sensed for a while and, after confirming there were indeed no other living creatures around, used his superpower, glancing toward one of the gates. After a good while, his eyes showed a look of comprehension. I see, these 8 spatial vortices are actually pathways of trials. As long as you enter and pass all the trials of one gate, you can truly enter the immortal palace and receive great fortune. This test of the immortal palace is quite unique. After pondering for a while, Lu Qing eventually chose one of the spatial vortices and stepped in. And as Lu Qing entered the spatial vortex, within the immortal palace, a few ancient wills slowly awakened from slumber.